When starting this timeline, we must begin in age 737, as Frieza was having all the Saiyans return to Planet Vegeta. When Bardock heard about the order for all the Saiyans to come back, he still made the plan for getting Kakarot off Earth. However, the change here is that he was able to get 2 ships, so one of them could escape with Kakarot. He would want Gine to go and she would want him to go, but he would explain that if he did, since his power is high, Frieza would catch him and Kakarot. This would cause them to get shot down, but since her power isn't really that high, she wouldn't be shot down if she was the one to escape. So, she gets in the second pod and leaves the planet as well. Bardock didn't check to see where this pod was set to go, as he was kind of in a rush to save his family. So, instead of arriving at the same planet as Kakarot, Gine's pod crashes on a planet that has green skies, green water, and blue land. This is obviously the planet we know as Namek, the description didn't give it away. Regardless, as Gine exits her pod, she's greeted by the warrior Namekians. Normally they are peaceful, but since this isn't someone that's from Namek, they would be cautious and send the warriors to meet them. In the Frieza saga, the warrior Namekians, besides Nail of course, had a power of about 3,000 each. As for Gine's power, we're never given it, but since she was no longer a warrior, I assume her power dropped over time, kind of like how Gohan and Vidal's powers dropped after they stopped training/fighting. So, I'd put her power at a little over half of Raditz' power level in the Saiyan saga, so around 800. Gine, though, will explain that she wasn't here to harm anyone, she was just escaping from her planet, as it was destroyed by a galactic tyrant named Frieza. They wouldn't be sure what to do with her, so they would escort her to where Guru is, to ask what to do with the Saiyan. Nail, of course, would be the first one in the Namekian warriors, and Gine see when arriving there. They would have to explain to him what they're doing, and then once passing this on to Guru, he allows them inside. When they try to explain what's happening, Guru would say that there was no need to explain, that he sensed the pod coming. There also would have been no need to explain since he was able to read a person's mind by placing his hand on their head. So, he would have seen everything about Gine's past, mainly why she was here and what happened to her home planet. However, the major difference between Gine and the other Saiyans is that they probably wouldn't sense evil inside of her. So, because of this, her granddaughter would allow her to stay on Namek, if she needed to, which, after inspecting her ship and finding out that it was damaged while landing on Namek, she would indeed be stuck here. So, while she was there, she would be taught in the ways of the Namekian people. She could be taught some of their wisdom by Guru and the other village elders, like Mori. Since she was never much of a warrior, she would probably be iffy on wanting to train. However, Guru would explain to her that the Namekians are like her as well. They are a peaceful people, but they only fight if it comes to defending their planet. So, since she's going to be living here, it couldn't hurt to train as well to protect her planet if it ever came to it. So, she would mainly be training with the regular warrior Namekians at first, though, assuming she gets Zenkai boosts, it wouldn't take long to get her to the level of the warrior Namekians. If she starts at a power of 800, it will only take her 5 of these boosts to get above them in power. So her power would have gone from 800 to 1070 to 1400 to 1900 to 2500 and lastly to 3300. It would be hard to say how long this would take, since unlike on Earth where in the Saiyan Force they don't have ways to heal faster than it just taking time. So, at most, it could take about a year for her to reach this level. Also, it could have taken a year since she wouldn't have been completely focused on training. She would have also been learning the Namekian ways of life in between training sessions. Anyway, since she now is stronger than the regular warrior Namekians, Guru would tell Nail to train her, since, in Guru's mind, it couldn't hurt them having 2 people stronger than Nail to help protect the planet. As for Nail, he has a power level of 42,000, so it could take a while for Gine to catch up with him power-wise. Especially, as mentioned above, she would still be learning from the other Namekians as well, so not all her time would be put to training. For her to reach Nail power, assuming she still gets a Zenkai boost, it would take about 3 years for her to match him. At the end of the first year training with Nail, her power would have been 7,900. At the end of the second year would have been 24,900. And at the end of the third year would have been 44,000. Which, this would mean it is now age 741. So we still have quite a way to go before we reach the beginning of Dragon Ball, which was in age 749. There isn't really a reason to go over what is happening on Earth, since Gine being alive and on Namek wouldn't have changed anything about what is happening on Earth. I'm assuming you'd bring up the Dragon Balls on Namek, but I don't know if Gine would use them. The Namekians didn't seem to openly tell people about them, though after being there for years Gine probably would have been told. However, as if for she would use them or not, I don't think she would. From the way the Namekians talked, they seem to reserve using them for only situations where they absolutely must use them. Like in the Frieza saga, they didn't have much of a choice but to let the heroes use them. since they were facing a catastrophe that was the Frieza Force invading their planet. So, they would explain this to her, that they only let them be used in dire circumstances, though, while Gine is learning about things like this, she could also be told about the Namekian Book of Legends by Guru. It's unknown if Guru had this book or not, but he did know about the Super Saiyan in the manga without having been told about it by anyone in that saga. We don't even know if the book talked about Super Saiyan, but we did know it talked about the Super Saiyan God, though, since Guru talked about the Super Saiyan, I'll say he learned it from this Namekian Book of Legends. Regardless, the point is that Guru would eventually show Gine this book, and probably teach her more about the Super Saiyan legend, and teach her about the Super Saiyan God and how it was obtained. This information won't have any important impact right now, but it can become important later. Regardless, Gine would find it interesting to have learned that these were more than just legends. She always thought that they were just myths made up to entertain Saiyan children. She could, theoretically, try to train to achieve Super Saiyan, but I don't think it would work as she wouldn't have any idea about how to achieve it. However, she does keep up on her training with Nail throughout the years. However, if she is close to Nail in power now, he would be getting stronger as well as time goes on. Though, before her training continues, since she caught up to Nail in power, Guru might see it as time to unlock her potential. As for how this would boost her power, we would have to look at what it did to Krillin's power in the Namek saga. Initially, his power went from 1,870 to about 13,000, though by the time his power stopped increasing, it had risen to 75,000. So, for Gine, initially her power would have gone from 44,000 up to 306,000, then, after her power finishes increasing, that would have brought it to an insanely high number, which is 1,800,000. I'd change these numbers to be lower because of how high they are, but to me it seems to make sense. I used the same multipliers from the potential increase we've seen in the series, so this number should be fine. Theoretically, it could have even been higher since Gine is a Saiyan. She might have had more potential than Krillin, so I'll just keep them at this level since that's the calculation I came up with. Also, in her training throughout the past couple of years, she would have been taught how to sense ki without the use of a scouter. Anyway, fast forward 20 years to age 761, which is normally the year that Raditz arrived on planet Earth. In the Broly movie, we had seen how Raditz was told that Kakarot was sent off to planet Earth. In a timeline where Gine escaped on the same day, he probably would have been told that she was sent away as well, though Bardock had no clue what planet Gine was sent to. So, when Raditz was told about them being sent off-world, he would have just been told Kakarot was sent to a planet called Earth, and his mother survived as well. He would just assume she went to the same planet too. Normally, he would have been right, but her ship was damaged after it landed on Namek, so she couldn't go to Earth right after. Which, when Raditz arrives on Earth, he would be disappointed that his mother isn't there. However, he would still find out that his brother Kakarot is there. So from there, the rest of the Saiyan saga would go the exact same, with both Raditz and Kakarot being killed. So, after this we would get to age 762, as the things in the Saiyan saga wrap up with Vegeta and Nappa arriving on Earth, and getting defeated as usual. Then they'll lead it to the trip to Namek starting as well. Also, something to mention is that in this time both Gine and Nail would have gotten stronger too. Nail probably would have started training intensely, since after Gine's potential was unlocked, she far surpassed him, so he would have trained intensely to try and catch up with her. It's hard to say how much her power would have gone up in the past 21 years, but I'll give her about a 2 times boost in power, which is 3,600,000. I chose this multiplier kind of based on how strong Goku got in the 5 years between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which was about a 1.35 times boost on top of his power. Since this was a 21-year time skip instead of 5 years, I made it higher and went to about a 2 times boost. Since the time skip was slightly over 4 times longer than the 5-year one, I could have made the boost far higher, but I chose to rein it in to only double. Also, assuming Nail did close the gap in power between the two and caught up, this would have brought his power up to 3,400,000. He theoretically could have been able to do this with intense training, and by getting his potential unlocked again, since his potential probably rose after Guru unlocked it the first time. While we haven't seen it in the anime or manga, we have seen Guru unlock a character's potential multiple times in a game, which was Dragon Ball's Universe 2. I know this is non-canon, but it's one of the main reasons I could justify Nail catching up to Gine in power as well. Anyway, eventually Gine, Nail, Guru, and the other Namekians would sense a lot of different keys coming towards their planet. However, most of them would be evil, so they would get prepared because they would be cautious about what is about to happen, which, obviously this is the Frieza Force on their way to try and get the Dragon Balls. Also, one of the higher evil keys they would sense would be Vegeta since he's on his way there as well. Lastly, there would be some good keys they sense too, since Krillin, Gohan, and Bulma are on their way, though Unfortunately, the amount of evil ki vastly outweighs the amount of good ki the sense coming towards their planet. When they do eventually land on planet Namek, Frieza would scan the planet for high power levels at first. Assuming Gine and Nail can suppress their powers, the Tyrant wouldn't notice anything worrying as of right now. So, he would get ready and start to make plans with his men of how they're going to find the Dragon Balls, and most likely just have come up with a similar plan to what they seemingly did in the manga. They just went from village to village to get the Dragon Balls. They usually started with asking, then having his men attack some of the villagers, maybe resort to killing the children to force the elders into giving the Dragon Ball up. Then if they absolutely must, just kill everyone in the village and take it by force. Afterwards, they just rinse and repeat the process until they get all of them, thus making their wish. This brings us up to where we left off, as after discussing the plan, he was going to head for the first village. Though, as he and the rest of the Frieza force head towards the village, Gine and Nail would also head towards where they sense the evil keys. They wouldn't know if it was Frieza until they got there, as back when Gine potentially would have seen Frieza, she wasn't able to sense energy. Now that she can, she wouldn't know that it was Frieza since she would have no idea what his energy felt like to realize it's him. Regardless, she and Nail arrive at the village roughly the same time that Frieza and his men do. Frieza would be shocked to see that another Saiyan was still alive, and Gine would be shocked to see that this is Frieza. Though, something to mention here is that if Frieza scouted out Planet Namek before coming here, he would have noticed the higher powers of Gine and Nail. We don't know if Frieza does scout out planets beforehand, but I personally think he does. I base this on how the Frieza Force and the Saiyans knew the power levels on Earth weren't that high before going there. So, I assume they would know the same thing about Planet Namek, though with Gine's and Nail's powers being over 3 million, Frieza might have thought this was a malfunction. Either way, he might have brought the Ginyu Force with him to Namek as well, just in case. Regardless, Zarbon and Dodoria would check their scouters to see their power levels, and since they are suppressing their power levels, Dodoria would be cocky that he can take the two on. Though, once he starts to fight with them, he wouldn't stand a chance against just one of them, let alone both Gine and Nail. So, instead of letting this fight drag on, they would just blast Dodoria, reducing him to a pile of smoldering ash. Frieza would just think they got lucky and send Zarbon in to fight them next. Zarbon, of course, would be getting beaten down easily by the two heroes in Namek. Even when he transforms to try and take them on, he doesn't stand a chance, so he would be blasted to ashes just like Dodoria was. Regardless of what henchmen Frieza sends the two, they would meet the same fate that Zarbon and Dodoria did, so Frieza would have to resort to sending in the Ginyu Force to take on the two. However, before I get into that fight, I'm going to talk about what Krillin and Gohan would be doing, along with what Vegeta would be doing during this time. Krillin and Gohan would have started going from village to village looking for the Dragon Balls by using the Dragon Radar or Bulmas. Since Krillin and Gohan were going about this peacefully and wanted them for good reason, which was to revive their friends, the village elders would willingly give up their Dragon Ball. Theoretically, it shouldn't take them long to gather the first 5, as the Frieza Force would be dead and Frieza and the Ginyu Force would be distracted, so nothing except Vegeta would get in their way. Speaking of Vegeta, after he landed, Kui landed shortly after him as well, which, as usual, when Kui seen his energy on the scouter, he flew after the Saiyan Prince. Then when Kui lands behind him and starts to talk with Vegeta, he would still be cocky as he thinks he and Vegeta are at the same power level. Vegeta would still reveal he learned how to hide his true power, so once he powers up, Kui's scouter would still explode. Kui still tries to join with Vegeta, then eventually tries to trick him that Frieza is standing behind him. Regardless, Vegeta easily beats him down and still causes Kui to explode with his dirty fireworks. After defeating Kui, Vegeta would check his scouter and notice Dodoria's and Zarbon's powers disappearing. He would be curious about this, because he wouldn't believe that the heroes would be able to defeat those two. Though, assuming he didn't destroy his scouter, when it eventually read Gine's and Nail's power, it would explode. This would make him even more curious, especially now that he can sense power. He would be curious who these people with the high power levels are. So, instead of searching for the Dragon Balls right now, he flies off towards where Frieza and the others are. Anyway, back with Gine and Nail, they would be getting ready to fight the Ginyu Force, which the members of the Ginyu Force would still try playing rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to fight who. This game of rock, paper, scissors gives time for Vegeta to arrive, which Gine would be shocked to see Vegeta, but also would be hopeful that since he's alive, Raditz could be alive as well. Regardless, they wouldn't get time to discuss anything, as they would have to fight the Ginyu Force. Frieza would have already known Vegeta would be considered a traitor because of him killing Kui, so he has the Ginyu Force attack him too. From the game of rock, paper, scissors, it ended up with Raccoon being the one that gets to fight Vegeta, as per usual. Raccoon would tell Goldo to take care of the other two, though when using scouters to scan their power, they would obviously break and just think it's a malfunction. Regardless, Goldo wouldn't stand a chance here like he did against Gohan and Krillin. He would have a much harder time trying to freeze both Gine and Nail, which, even after they are unfrozen, they are much faster than what Gohan and Krillin were, so they could easily catch up to Goldo. Eventually, they would be able to kill Goldo by blasting him before he got the chance to refreeze the two. As for Vegeta fighting Recoome, he would only have a power of 24,000 at this time, since he wouldn't have gotten the Zenkai from fighting Zarbon like he did in the manga. Anyway, as usual, Vegeta would seemingly be winning at first, though after the dust clears from his blast, Recoome would still be standing there, relatively uninjured. After this, Recoome would be easily beating down Vegeta, and when he tries to use the eraser gun to kill him, Gine and Nail would knock Vegeta out of the way. After that, Recoome would want to fight these two, so he makes a deal with Jace and Berta to fight in exchange for chocolate eclairs. Though, this fight wouldn't go in Recoome's favor whatsoever. He couldn't stand a chance against these two, so he would easily be getting pummeled. After a little while of this, Nail and Gine would just blast him together, disintegrating him. This just leaves Jace and Berta to fight the two, with Gine fighting Berta and Nail fighting Jace. This fight would be quite easy for them, and it would end much the same way with them killing Jace and Berta. Captain Ginyu would be shocked at this point that all his men were killed, so he would step in to take the two on, which the captain would be getting pummeled quite easily by the two defenders in Namek. Eventually, he would still resort to more orderly injuring himself and using his body change technique, which would cause him to change bodies with Gine. Unlike Gohan and Krillin being reluctant to attack Ginyu when he was in Goku's body, I don't think Nail would be as reluctant. Anyway, Ginyu had a power level of about 23,000 in Goku's body, which had a power level of 90,000, so about 26% of Goku's full power. If it was the same for this situation, Ginyu would have a power level of about 920,000 when in Gine's body. This is still no match for Nail, so he would easily beat down Captain Ginyu in this form as well. When he eventually tries to change bodies with Nail, Gine would jump in the way and get her body back. From there, Nail would blast and kill Captain Ginyu before he got the chance to switch bodies again. Guru would have been sensing what was going on in the fight and would have realized that Gine's life force is slipping, so he most likely would have communicated telepathically with one of the Namekians that could heal people, probably Dende, and ask him to come to him. This is when he would have unlocked his potential and sent him to go and heal Gine. Anyway, back with Gine and Nail, the fight wouldn't have started yet, but Nail would lead Frieza away so they don't harm the village in the fight. Afterwards, Frieza would climb out of his little space pod. Even without the help of Gine, Nail's power far outclasses Frieza in his first form, so when the fight starts between Nail and the Galactic Tyrant, he would be getting beaten to a pulp. Though, when Frieza does eventually get a breath in, he would try to transform into his second form. At this point, this is when Dende would have arrived at where Gine is laying to heal her. Dende would probably be reluctant to, but when Gine asked him to heal Vegeta, he would. Gine would only ask as she would realize that they need all the help they can get, so the two Saiyans would have gotten a Zenkai boost from being healed, since they were both near death. Vegeta's power went from 30,000 to 250,000 after the fight with the Ginyu Force, so this time Vegeta's power would have gone from 24,000 to 200,000. As for Gine, I'm going to give her a smaller boost in power, since she's already much stronger than the other heroes. So, her power goes up to 4,800,000 instead of the 30 million it would have gone up to if I gave her the same boost as Vegeta. Unfortunately, for the heroes, Frieza would be able to transform into this form. The main reason for this is because Vegeta and Gine arriving back at the battlefield would serve as a distraction, which gives Frieza enough time to transform. So, when Frieza finishes transforming, he charges at the warriors again. Though, even in his second form, he wouldn't be a match against Gine and Nail. The only one out of the three he would be able to beat down would have been Vegeta. Regardless, Frieza would still eventually turn into his third form once Vegeta tries to goad him into it. Even with this boost of power, Frieza would still be getting dominated by the Namekian and Saiyan duo. He would be shocked to say the least that a filthy monkey would be able to push into using this much of his power, so he would still have to resort to transforming to his fourth and final form against the heroes. Also, something to mention is at this point, Gohan and Krillin would have gotten 5 of the other Dragon Balls, which, in going for the 6th, that would bring them closer where Gine, Nail, Vegeta, and Frieza are fighting. They wouldn't really have to worry about hiding their power levels, since the others are distracted with the fighting, they wouldn't be noticed. So, they get the 6th Dragon Ball and head off towards the final one, which is where the Grand Elder is. They likely would have run into Dende when getting this Dragon Ball, so Dende would have shown them the way to Guru's. Once there, Guru would have read their minds about why they are there and given them the 7th Dragon Ball. He also would have unlocked Gohan and Krillin's potential as well. Back with Gine, Nail, Vegeta, and Frieza, the tyrant would be getting down to his initial power in his final form, though after a little bit of this, to overpower the warriors in their combined power of 8,400,000, Frieza would go up to 10% of his power, or 12 million. This is when the tyrant would start to toy around with them, since they would no longer be able to get a hit in on him, though this toying with the heroes would only go on for a little bit until Frieza essentially got bored of it, so he would start to pick them off one by one, starting with Vegeta of course, since he's the weakest. Frieza would also start with him since he would see it as finally being able to get rid of the prince once and for all, and then he wouldn't have to worry about him later. Though, where Frieza really messes up is when he kills Nail next. This would kind of have been like what Krillin's death was to Goku. Gine has been training with Nail for the longest since she escaped from Planet Vegeta, so they would have been like best friends to each other. Gine isn't normally one to get angry, as she's normally level-headed, but this would have pushed her over the edge. As her anger started to boil over, lightning would start to strike around her. The waters around them on Namek would start to get rougher, as her crown starts to crumble at her feet. As her hair starts to spike up and flash between black and yellow, Frieza would have been confused about what is going on. Though, once her transformation finishes and her hair becomes completely yellow and her eyes become a piercing blue, Frieza would have been worried if this was a Super Saiyan legend. Since his form multiplies her power by 50, Gine's power level would have shot up to 240 million, which is double Frieza's full power. So, when the fight between the two begins, Frieza would be easily getting dominated by Gine. Whatever hits and tricks Frieza tries to use against Gine basically leaves her unscathed, as her powers aren't as close as Frieza's and Goku's was. As she prepares to blast to kill Frieza, the tyrant still resorts to using his death ball to destroy the planet, which, when it hits the planet, King Kai, who has been watching everything, would have said something about it being over. Frieza destroyed the planet. Back with Krillin and Gohan, something to mention is that in these circumstances, King Kai probably would have been communicating with them, and would have had Popo already gather the Earth Dragon Balls for when Piccolo, and by extension Kami, was revived. So, this is when the heroes would have Dende summoned Purunga. The first wish would obviously be to revive Piccolo so that Kami is revived too. Then they would have King Kai tell them to use the Earth Dragon Balls to wish back everyone killed by Frieza and his men on Namek to be brought back to life. So, this would bring back Nail, which he would be happy to see Gine beating up the tyrant that is Frieza. Also, with Vegeta being back alive, he would have seen that Gine became the Super Saiyan legend. Though, right after they would use their second wish on the Namekian Dragon Balls to wish everyone besides Gine and Frieza to Earth. Originally, it would have just been besides Frieza, but Gine probably would have been listening in on Guru and told him to change the wish so that he remains as well. Their third wish would probably be to wish Goku in a ship back to Earth, so he doesn't arrive on a planet that is blowing up. Back on Namek, after Frieza finished throwing the Death Ball and starts taunting about there being 5 minutes left, he would have noticed the sky getting dark because of the dragon getting summoned, though he potentially would have brushed this off as being caused by him starting to destroy the planet. Anyway, he would resort to using his full power against Gine, which in all honesty wouldn't help the Galactic Tyrant at all. They aren't close in power like Frieza and Goku was, so Gine would be dominating in this fight. Frieza would still resort to trying to use the Death Saucer, but as usual he ends up being cut in half by his own attack. After this, when Frieza begs for help, even though Gine is much more peaceful, she wouldn't spare Frieza like Goku did. After all, this is the tyrant that killed her husband Bardock and her best friend Nail. So, since Frieza is still weakened when Gine blasts him with all her power, he doesn't have enough energy to survive this like he did against Goku. From there, Gine would fly off, searching for a way to escape, which she would find one of the pods of the Ginyu Force and use it. Since it was programmed to go to Yardrat, that's where she'll go for now. Back on Earth, since the battle with Frieza ended much earlier than in the manga, Guru still has more time left alive. However, he would know his time is drawing near, so he would still make Mori the next Grand Elder of Namek. Afterwards, when the Namekian Dragon Balls are ready again, they wish Yamcha, Shatsu, and Tien Shinhan back to life. When they use them again after that, they only have one wish instead of 3, which is to send all Namekians, except Piccolo and Kami, to the planet that King Kai found for them, which is now called New Namek. Since Goku missed out on all the action on Planet Namek, the heroes would fill him in on what he missed and talk about the mysterious warrior who defeated Frieza. Goku would be curious who this was, since it sounds like they would be a strong fighter. As for Vegeta, even though he didn't really help the heroes as much in this timeline, he would still be on Earth since he has nowhere else to go. Which, this brings us to where we left off, as another galactic tyrant is approaching Earth. A year passes after the last wish on the Dragon Balls were made, so it is now age 764. As everyone is either on Earth or relaxing, they would sense a strong power level coming to Earth. While it isn't Frieza's energy, they would realize that it feels similar to his ki. Vegeta and Yamcha would be the first ones there. Then Bulma and Poir show up since she wanted to see the tyrant since she'd never seen Frieza. After this, Tien and Shatsu arrives, then Piccolo, and lastly, Krillin, Gohan, and Goku. Which, as King Cold lands on Earth, he mentions that there's 3 more hours before the Super Saiyan arrives. Though, as he was about to send out his men to kill the Earthlings, a mysterious warrior lands in front of him, saying he's come to kill him. King Cold orders his soldiers to kill him, but all of them are wiped out easily without him breaking a sweat. The heroes would have noticed one huge key appearing while many small ones disappeared, and would be curious about what is going on. King Cold would be curious if he was a Super Saiyan, but the mysterious warrior would tell him he is, but he wasn't the Super Saiyan he was looking for. Regardless, he powers up into this form and kills King Cold like Mecha Frieza was killed, by being sliced into bits and blasted. Which, this is when all the heroes would fly over to see who killed King Cold, as they would realize it wasn't Goku. When the mysterious warrior spots them, he says he knows where the Super Saiyan from Namek will land, and if they want to meet them, they should follow him. They do follow him, and once they land they ask what all this is about. Since Goku is already here, he would ask to talk to him in private, which Goku probably would, as he would be excited to see how strong this guy is. Regardless, after they fly to somewhere where the others can't hear, the mysterious warrior would introduce himself as Trunks. Future Trunks would then go on to say he's from 20 years in the future, and that he has Saiyan blood because he is Vegeta's son. He would then go on to give the typical warning that in 3 years on May 12th around 10 AM, 2 androids will appear on an island 9 miles southwest of South City. He would then explain that they were made by Dr. Gero of the Red Ribbon Army, and that all the heroes died fighting them, except for Goku, as he died of the heart virus, which he still eventually gives him the cure and reveals that Bulma is his mother, since he mentions her telling him about Goku. Future Trunks then tells him that in 3 hours the Super Saiyan from Namek will arrive here, and that Goku will want to wait around to meet them. Then he leaves. As Goku goes back over to the heroes, he finds difficulty in trying to explain it without revealing Future Trunks' identity. So since Piccolo was able to hear it all, he explains it for Goku. Anyway, Goku decides to wait to see the Super Saiyan arrive, and so do the others as well, which, when the pod lands and Gine exits, she would be surprised to see people waiting there for her, though the most surprising thing to her is that she would see Kakarot there, which she'd run and hug him with tears in her eyes, though he would be confused since she wouldn't recognize her. She would explain to him that she is his mother, and that when he was sent off planet, she was as well, but her pod ended up going to a different planet than his. She would explain what her life was like after she left Planet Vegeta, but she wouldn't talk about this for long, and she would be curious to hear what Kakarot was up to. He would explain the thing he was told about hitting his head, so he didn't remember anything, and that the person who found him, his grandpa Gohan, named him Goku. He would then explain all the adventures he had on Earth since then, though when he eventually explains the part about Raditz, Gine would be saddened to hear this but would understand why Goku did what he did. Though, since Gine knows about the Dragon Balls of Namek, she would have a plan to revive Raditz, though she'd ask what happened with the Namekians, and Goku would explain that King Kai found a new planet for them. When asking where this planet is, he would say he doesn't know, but King Kai can tell her. So, Goku helps her get in contact with King Kai, who then guides her to New Namek. Before she summons the dragon, she talks with the Namekians and tells them what she's doing and that she'll visit often, but she's staying on Earth with her sons now. Anyway, since the Namekian Dragon Balls don't have a time limit for revival, she wishes for Raditz to be revived. Since she doesn't have any other wishes besides that, she lets the dragon know that and goes back to Earth. When she gets back to Earth, she searches for Raditz, and when she eventually finds him, he would be confused about why he is alive. He would be even more shocked to see his mother land in front of him, but she would explain to him what she did, though he would quickly be berated for trying to fight and kill his own brother, and that what happened to him was his fault. She wouldn't be mad for long though, as she would just be happy to see her son. From there, she would explain everything that she has been up to like she did to Goku, and have him explain as well. After that, she would teleport herself and Raditz to where Goku and the others are. The heroes would be shocked to see Raditz, but Gine would make Raditz apologize for his actions. After this, Gine would ask where they can stay, and Goku would ask Bulma if they could stay at Capsule Corp while a house within is built up on Mount Palsu, which, during this time at Capsule Corp, Vegeta would still start a relationship with Bulma. This brings up the question of if Raditz would develop a relationship with anyone while here, and I think he would. Though, as for who this would be, I think the only option would have been Bulma's sister, Tights, since this would have been the only person he was likely to meet at Capsule Corp. Also, Raditz would have been training with Gine along with Goku to try and get Super Saiyan, along with training to get stronger to face the androids. When Raditz isn't training with them, he would most likely train with Vegeta, though once Raditz unlocks Super Saiyan before Raditz, This will probably spark a rivalry between him and Vegeta. However, with them training together, this might be a slightly friendlier rivalry than Goku and Vegeta's. Vegeta might still be on Earth though, since he would be training with Raditz, so he might end up staying on the planet to train instead of going to space to unlock Super Saiyan. He also might unlock Super Saiyan earlier, since he has some sort of guidance from someone that knows how to unlock it. This would most likely mean he has a closer relationship with Bulma since he didn't leave to space, though not much closer. Regardless, 3 years pass of this training, as the heroes all start flying towards where they agreed to meet up. While Goku, Gohan, Gine, Raditz, and Piccolo are flying together, they end up meeting up with Krillin in the sky too. When they arrive, Yamcha and Tien are already there, along with Bulma and Tights. Goku was still making the mistake of saying Trunks' name and who his father was before Bulma told him. Also, at this point, Tights would have had children with Raditz as well. Since my friend suggested I do this what if, I asked her about the Raditz surviving thing and if he should have kids, which she said yeah. When I asked her about the children thing, she said to have Raditz and Tights have twin daughters, so that's what I did. Tights would be holding her 2 daughters, which I chose their names from the undergarments Camisole and Chemise, to fit with the Breeze family naming scheme. I chose these two so I could make similar names for them, which were Kami and Kemi, as most twins I met had names starting with the same letter, which in this case would be the letter C. Also, something to mention is that since Goku was on Earth a year earlier, he and Chi-Chi could have had Goten a year earlier, so he would be born in the same year as Trunks and Raditz's daughters. Yajirobe arrives as well, though he's only there to give them the sensu beans, and then he leaves shortly after. So as he leaves, the ship is still destroyed, and they see the androids flying down into the city afterwards. But since they were too far away, they couldn't tell what they looked like. As they get ready to go to the city, Goku sends Gohan after Yajirobe, then they take off. Yamcha is the one that ends up finding the androids as Android 19 attacks 2 people, and Android 20 attacks someone in the car, which causes the nearby onlooker to scream, thus alerting Yamcha to their location. They eventually land behind him, and Android 20 grabs him and starts to drain his energy, before stabbing him through the chest. The heroes sense this and land in front of the androids, while Krillin grabs Yamcha and leaves with him. Goku and the others then lead the androids to a deserted area to fight, while Yamcha says he needs to warn them about the androids draining energy. So Gohan, Krillin, and Yamcha all take off to go help out the heroes against the androids. After they land, Tien notices Goku is out of breath, but while talking with the androids, Goku still shows off Super Saiyan since he didn't know about it. From there, he flies to Android 19 and starts fighting with him, though Goku is beating him down at first. Since Goku is trying to rush his fight, he ends up using the Kamehameha, which is when Android 19 absorbs it. This is when Yamcha and Piccolo tell Goku to watch out for their hands, that's how they absorb energy. At this point, Goku is getting beaten down by the android, and when they see Goku clutching his chest, they realize the heart virus is starting to take effect. As Android 19 has Goku down to drain his energy, the heroes try to step in and stop him, but Android 20 gets in the way. Piccolo tries to stop Android 20, but he is blasted down by the mechanical menace. At this point, is when Vegeta flies in, with Vegeta knocking Android 19 away from Goku. Piccolo still gets up and reveals he was faking being dead when Vegeta arrives, and Vegeta talks to Goku for a minute before kicking him over to the other heroes. This is when Yamcha leaves with Goku to get him the heart medicine, while Vegeta shows off him going Super Saiyan, which shocks the heroes. After this, he starts to fight with Android 19 and is easily beating him down. After getting beaten down for a while and slammed into the ground making a crater, the android lies motionless. Then when Vegeta approaches, the mechanical menace grabs the Saiyan Prince and starts to drain his energy. Vegeta still gets out of this by using his legs to push himself away, which rips off Android 19's hands in the process. After this, when the android starts to flee from Vegeta, he just flies up and charges the Big Bang attack, which, when it hits the android, it easily destroys it. Vegeta then powers back down to base form and tells Android 20 that this is his chance to beat him. He used all of his energy, but instead of fighting, the android flees into the mountains, so Vegeta gets a sensu bean from Krillin, goes Super Saiyan again, and chases after Android 20. The heroes chase after him as well, and Vegeta still tries to flush him out with a blast, but the android absorbs it then easily escapes again. Eventually he grabs Piccolo and starts to drain his energy, so he speaks telepathically to Gohan, so the young boy flies in and knocks the android off of him. The rest of the heroes get there, and Krillin gives Piccolo a sensu bean. From there, he removes his weighted clothing and tells Vegeta not to interfere in their fight. The Namekian is easily beating down the android, which in the meantime, Future Trunks arrives from the future again. Piccolo ends up slicing off one of Android 20's hands, while Future Trunks arrives at the battlefield and sees the remains of Android 19, and realizes these aren't the androids he knows. He then flies off to where the heroes are, and once seeing Android 20, he tells him that these are the androids from his future. Regardless, currently Bulma, Tights, and Yajirobe were flying by in their ship, so Android 20 shoots it down, which Trunks saves him while Vegeta goes to fly after the android, but he gets in his way and asks why he didn't save his wife, kid, and sister-in-law. Vegeta just says he has no use for sentiment and takes off, while Bulma tells Gohan and Krillin that she recognized Android 20 as Dr. Gero. As Bulma starts explaining to everyone she knows about Dr. Gero, Piccolo tells future Trunks to explain to them what the androids from the future looks like, so he describes what androids 17 and 18 look like. From there, Vegeta takes off and Trunks goes after him too, yelling Dad in the process, with Raditz flying after the android too. When Bulma questions this, Piccolo tells her that he is her son Trunks from the future. In the meantime, Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, and Gine go to search for the lab while Gohan takes Bulma and Yajirobe back to where Goku is. Eventually, when Dr. Gero reaches his lab, Krillin spots him going inside, so Gero just goes inside since he thinks Krillin can't do anything. However, Krillin alerts the others about his location by raising his key. Inside the lab, Dr. Gero awakens Android 17 first, then Android 18. But when they see he has the shutoff remote, number 17 takes it and destroys it, which, this is when the heroes arrive. The Piccolo gets ready to blast the lab's door down, though they hear them talking from inside, so they realize the androids have been awoken, which Vegeta just hurries up and blasts open the lab, which is when we see Android 18 trying to awaken Android 16. Dr. Gero tries to order them to stop this, so Android 17 quickly kills the Doctor and walks back to number 16's capsule. However, future Trunks tries to blast and destroy the androids, but they escape with his paw and let Android 16 out of it. The androids talk for a minute, and since they have nothing else to do, they still take off towards Goku's house. Vegeta still goes to chase after them, but Trunks tries to stop him. After hitting the future warrior, he takes off, along with Raditz. As the androids land on the road to get a car, both Vegeta and Raditz land behind them shortly. This is when they try to get Android 16 to fight Vegeta, but he refuses to, so Android 18 steps up to fight him instead. Which, while Android 18 steps up to fight Vegeta, Android 17 steps up to fight Raditz, with Android 16 left to spectate. Now, as Gine and Raditz are about to face the twin androids, they start to go blow for blow with the two mechanical menaces. Though, after a little bit of this, all four fighters stop holding back, which is when the fight goes sour for the heroes. This is when Piccolo and the others would arrive, but Vegeta and Raditz would both tell them not to interfere, which, unfortunately for the two Saiyans, they are easily beaten down by the android duo now, and the two each get one of their arms broken. Gine and future Trunks to fly in and try to face the two androids, but they are easily beaten down as well. When Piccolo and the others try to face them, they meet the same fate. Eventually, the androids break Raditz's and Vegeta's other arms, and get ready to leave. Though, Krillin is left unbeaten and is told to give them sensu beans, and is left with the message that the androids will fight the heroes anytime they want. Eventually they leave, though Android 18 still kisses Krillin's cheek before leaving. At this time, Vegeta and Raditz both take off, and future Trunks tries to go after them, but Piccolo stops him, though he takes off as well towards Kami's lookout as a last resort. Once on the lookout, Piccolo just cuts to the chase and says why he is there, which is to merge with Kami again. Though Kami tells him he will, but he wants to wait first to see that if the androids are a real threat first. Also during this time, the androids still do their usual thing of stealing a van. In the meantime, Tien goes back to where Shatsu is while future Trunks, Gine, and Krillin head to Goku's house. This is also where Gohan arrives with them getting ready to leave, since the androids are on the way there. During this time, Bulma still calls the heroes on the ship and tells them about the second time machine they found. After being told where the time machine is, future Trunks and Gohan head towards it together while Bulma also goes towards it. When all three arrive, they still find the time machine, and more importantly the eggshell inside of it. They also find the molded shell of what looks like a giant cicada, then head off to Master Roshi's while Bulma goes back home. Meanwhile, Android 18 still goes shopping and steals her new outfit, and easily defeats the police that are chasing her. Also, up on Kami's lookout, the Guardian finally decides to merge with Piccolo, as he notices something down on Earth, which Bulma still hears the radio broadcast about all life in Ginger Town disappearing, which is by where the other time machine was. Meanwhile, Bulma calls Krillin and tells him to check the TV, which is when they see the broadcast cut out as the reporter is attacked. Back on the lookout, Kami still eventually agrees to merge back with Piccolo. Even though Piccolo didn't fuse with Nail this time, they would still be able to fuse because in the manga they were able to without Piccolo explaining how. After they merge, Piccolo heads off to Ginger Town and future Trunks gets ready to go there as well. Once Piccolo arrives, he would still see a monster with the richest man from Ginger Town though once he says to free him, the creature still absorbs the man and tells Piccolo he's next, which just still shocks Piccolo, as he doesn't know how this creature knows him. But once it powers up, Piccolo and the others are shocked once they sense his ki, though Piccolo still says he has the wrong person and powers up, much to the monster's confusion. While Piccolo and the creature are fighting, the androids eventually stop as they notice the shudder, so Android 16 informs them of the fight going on. Anyway, while the fight goes on, Piccolo demands the creature explain who sent him in the time machine, and he just says he sent himself. But he would still be shocked about the creature using the Kamehameha, and once his arm is drained, he uses this as a chance to get the creature to explain who it is and how it was created. Krillin and future Trunks still arrive, which is when Cell uses the solar flare to make his escape. Vegeta, Raditz, and Tien also arrive, which is when Piccolo explains to them who Cell is and what he's trying to do. After Piccolo finishes explaining, Vegeta says something along the lines of he'll surpass Super Saiyan, as he's sure Kakarot will try to do the same, then takes off. Though, since Raditz is a much more cautious individual than Vegeta, he'll stick around with Piccolo and Tien to search the area. Future Trunks and Krillin are still sent to look for the basement in Dr. Jura's lab, so they take off as well. While there, they still find the blueprints for the androids before destroying the lab, and take them to Bulma and her father. Meanwhile, 3 days later, back at Master Roshi's house, Chi-Chi and Master Roshi find that Goku is now awake. Though, when they tell him he should rest, he says he can't, that he must try and transcend Super Saiyan as well. Goku still comes up with the idea to go to the hyperbolic time chamber, though, since he can't teleport, he would have to ask Gine if she could teleport him, which, when he arrives on Bulma's ship, he explains his plan and has Gohan and Raditz come with them. He'd then do the same with passing on the message to Vegeta and future Trunks, before going to the lookout. Regardless, Vegeta and future Trunks still go first, while in the meantime the androids arrive at Kame House. So, Piccolo steps out and goes to an uninhabited island to fight with them, as he didn't want anyone getting hurt in the crossfire. Android 17 and Piccolo would start the fight on this new island and would seemingly be going blow for blow. Though, up on the lookout, Goku had to stop Gohan from flying off to intervene. Regardless, Cell then picks up on Piccolo's energy and realizes he would be fighting the androids, so he takes off towards them. As the fight continues on, the hero sense Cell coming towards them, but they get the call from Bulma that she made a remote to destroy the androids. After this, Cell arrives at the battlefield, and Krillin goes off to where Bulma is to get the remote, though Tien takes off as well to go help Piccolo out in his fight against the androids and Cell. While Piccolo and Android 17 are fighting the bug monster, Piccolo explains what Cell's goal is, so Android 16 tries to warn him and number 18 to run. Both number 17 and Piccolo would be getting beaten down, to the point that he is eventually blasted through the chest by Cell. Which, with Piccolo out of the way, Cell starts to beat down number 17 and tries to absorb him, but number 16 walks in and knocks Cell away. Number 16 would be going blow for blow with Cell for a bit, they would eventually rip off his tail, though Cell still reveals that he can grow it back. Number 16 eventually still must resort to using his Hell's Slash, but once he does, the other two androids think Cell was killed. So, they don't flee, which is when Cell comes up behind number 17 and absorbs him, achieving a semi-perfect form. Now with Cell having this power, number 16 doesn't stand a chance anymore, and is easily beating down the android. However, before he can trick number 18 into getting absorbed, Tien steps in. He starts to use his Neo Tri-Beam to keep Cell in place. He was only doing this so number 16 and number 18 had enough time to escape Cell, as it would be worse if they stuck around. Tien eventually uses this until he passes out, but Goku has Gine teleport him there. Once there, Goku tells Cell in one day he'll be able to beat him, then they teleport away with Tien and Piccolo. As Cell takes off and Krillin gets a remote from Bulma, Vegeta and future Trunks exit the time chamber. While they are all up on the lookout, Bulma arrives and gives them the battle suit she made, but Piccolo still refuses to wear them. Vegeta takes off, and before Trunks can leave, Goku gives the future warriors some Senzu beans. Meanwhile, Cell threatens to destroy island after island until number 18 shows herself, but once she doesn't come out, he follows through on his threat and destroys an island. After destroying 2 more islands, Cell gets ready to destroy the one the androids are on. However, he is interrupted by Vegeta, who already transformed to Super Saiyan, arriving on the battlefield. Though, after Vegeta arrives, future Trunks arrives as well, though he hasn't transformed yet. Regardless, as Vegeta transforms into his ascended Super Saiyan form, or Super Saiyan Grade 2, Goku and Gohan enter the hyperbolic time chamber. As Vegeta was fighting semi-perfect Cell, he would easily be beating him down, while in the meantime Krillin was flying towards Vegeta and Cell, since he had the remote to destroy the androids. Vegeta still tells Cell to stop holding back, but once he does, it is still useless against the Saiyan Prince and his newfound power. Meanwhile, as Krillin is still watching the fight, he spots the androids, so he flies in so he can deactivate them. However, as Vegeta was about to end off Cell, the monster starts throwing his tantrum that if only he could have achieved perfection, he never would have been beaten by Vegeta. Vegeta then lands and talks to Cell, asking if he could really beat him if he did achieve this perfect form, to which Cell told him that he could. So, Vegeta tells him he'll let Cell achieve his perfect form, and when he flies off, Trunks transforms and gets in the creature's way. Meanwhile, as Krillin gets close to number 18 and number 16, he remembers what number 18 did, mainly the kiss on his cheek, so he drops the remote and destroys it, which defuses number 18, but he then tells the androids to flee. However, Cell spots number 18, and when he goes after her, Trunks yells out that she's been found, and transforms into his ascended Super Saiyan state as well and chases after Cell. Though, Vegeta in turn chases after Trunks and knocks him out of the way. Though the two are fighting, Cell makes use of this distraction to use the solar flare, thus blinding everyone. In the midst of this confusion, he absorbs number 18 and starts to transform. Though, as Cell starts this process, Trunks tries to attack him so he can't finish his transformation. However, it was too late, as the monster finally achieves his perfect form. Meanwhile, up on the lookout and in the hyperbolic time chamber, Gohan has finally achieved Super Saiyan. Anyway, back with Cell and the others, Krillin, who is angered by Cell killing number 18, tries to attack the bio-android. As to be expected, Krillin is easily beaten down, so Trunks flies in and gives him the sensor beam. After Krillin gets back up, he reveals that Cell is holding back a lot, and that he knows Trunks is hiding something as well. Regardless, as Vegeta realizes he is getting toyed with, he tells Cell to get serious. But once the monster listens, Vegeta then quickly realizes his attacks can no longer damage the creature. As their fight goes on, Vegeta is easily getting destroyed by the bio-android. Number 16 tried to come behind Cell and attack him, but the creature told him that it would be futile, so the android kept out of the fight. Regardless, Vegeta in his anger still tries his final flash and taunts Cell to take it head on. The blast just takes off Cell's arm, and he acts like he's surprised, then reminds Vegeta that he has Piccolo's DNA, so he quickly regrows his arm. After this, Cell beats down Vegeta to the point that he falls out of Super Saiyan and is knocked unconscious, which, with Vegeta unconscious, Trunks can reveal what he was hiding, and transforms into his Ultra Super Saiyan state, or Super Saiyan Grade 3. As the future warrior finishes transforming, Cell would be shocked that he had this power hidden, but regardless, Trunks still gives Krillin a sensu bean and tells him to take his father to Master Roshi's and to give him the sensu bean. At first, Trunks doesn't try to fight, as he was trying to give time for Krillin to leave, though Cell knew this, and once Krillin left, he asked if Trunks was finally able to fight. After Krillin left with Vegeta, Trunks went up to his full power and charged at Cell. Meanwhile, in the hyperbolic time chamber, Goku also learned how to surpass Super Saiyan. As he demonstrated to Gohan, he went into his ascended Super Saiyan form first, then Ultra Super Saiyan. As he mentioned, even though it gives him great power, it drastically reduces his speed. Back with Trunks and Cell, Trunks wasn't able to land a hit, and he wasn't sure why. The Cell eventually transforms into a similar state to make the point that sure, he's stronger, but he's also way slower. Regardless, Trunks drops out of this form, and tells Cell to just go ahead and kill him now. Before Cell does though, he asks how they got so strong in a short period of time, but Trunks stays silent. So he then asks if they had more time, could they get even stronger? Trunks says he doesn't know until he tries, and then Cell asks where Goku is, so Trunks tells him he's currently training to defeat Cell. Cell then decides he'll have a tournament, with the rule still being that he'll fight the fighters one-on-one, until he eventually loses. He then tells the future warrior to watch the news, as he'll announce the location of the tournament later, and takes off. He explained this to Krillin and Vegeta, then number 16 said he'd join as well, and asked him to get him repaired. Trunks was reluctant about this, but Krillin agreed to take him, as he trusted number 16. The next morning, Cell made the arena, then went to a nearby news station to make his announcement. He still lays out the rules, the time, and the location, and invites anyone from Earth to challenge him. Which, up on the lookout, Goku and Gohan exit the time chamber and sees everyone standing around. So, he asks the others to fill him in on what happened, so Trunks fills him in on it. Vegeta asks if Goku can defeat Cell, and he says he isn't sure, so he asks Gine to teleport him to Cell. Once they get back to the lookout, Goku reveals that he doesn't believe he can beat Cell at his current strength. As for the time chamber, the way they planned it was that Piccolo would use it for a day, then Vegeta and Trunks would use it again. As for Gine, she would want to use it as well, but couldn't decide on who to go in with, either Goku or Raditz. But Goku believes it's better if he and Gohan don't go in for a second day, so Gine and Raditz would go in together instead for 2 days. Goku still makes a plan with Gohan to train for 3 days, rest for 3, and train for the other 3, but they still go and get Chi-Chi before going back home. In their free time, Goku, Chi-Chi, and Gohan go on a picnic, along with Raditz and Gine, since it wasn't their turn to go in the time chamber yet. The World Defense Force tried to attack Cell, which to no one's surprise, did nothing against the monster, and they were all killed quickly. After hearing this, Goku asks Gine to teleport him to the lookout so he can speak to Piccolo, which when he gets there he mentions his plan about going to New Namek to get a new guardian, since Kami and Piccolo can't separate, which Gine gladly teleports Goku to New Namek, and Mori suggests that Dende becomes the next guardian of Earth, so they teleport with him to the lookout. Meanwhile, on the news, Hercule announces that he is going to fight Cell, which is when Goku and Gine arrive to also teleport Krillin and Gohan up to the lookout to see Dende. So, once on the lookout, Dende uses the model of the Dragon Shenron to remake the Dragon Balls, along with upgrading them to grant more wishes. Goku allows Gohan to stay on the lookout to spend time with Dende, and says that he doesn't need to train anymore. He then leaves to get the Dragon Radar, so that he can find the Dragon Balls ahead of time. Regardless, the day of the Cell Games finally arrived, as the heroes got ready to go to the arena. Hercule arrived first, and he had tried to taunt Cell, but he was just ignored. Vegeta then arrived first, then Android 16, and lastly all the other heroes, which included Goku, Gohan, Gine, Raditz, Future Trunks, Piccolo, Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien. Android 16 came to thank Krillin for getting him repaired, and Goku then tried to introduce himself, but number 16 quickly reminded Goku that he was made to kill him, and that he shouldn't forget that. Goku was going to be the one to go first, but Hercule kept interrupting, so Krillin just told Goku to let him go first. So, Hercule stepped up first and still tried to demonstrate his strength by smashing tiles, but once he rushes at Cell, he's just easily swatted away, so Goku steps up on the stage next. Once the fight starts between the two, they go blow for a while, so Goku resorted to trying Kamehameha, but is easily knocked away by Cell. After this, Cell knocks Goku down to the ground, but he gets up unscathed, which is when Cell says that this should be enough of a warm-up. So, Goku and Cell both power up, and Goku seemingly seems to be winning at first, but Cell gets back up and smirks since he's enjoying this fight. Though, when Cell eventually uses the Kamehameha, since Goku doesn't know the instant transmission, he must resort to swatting it away and upwards, so it doesn't hit the planet. Regardless, the two go back to fighting, but Cell seemingly has the upper hand now. After a little bit of this, Goku almost got knocked out of the ring, so Cell got rid of that role by destroying the arena. Goku still tries to use his full powered Kamehameha against Cell, but since he doesn't have the instant transmission to teleport right in front of Cell, he taunts him like Vegeta did, so that Cell would take the brunt of the attack. Regardless, Cell regenerates and starts to beat down Goku, which is when he starts to get tired out. Meanwhile, while Bulma and Master Roshi are watching the fight on TV, Roshi mentions that Goku, and he knows it, so he doesn't know what his plan is. Trunks was going to interfere and give him a sensu bean, but Vegeta yelled at him not to, since he knows Goku would rather die than win that way. They realize that Goku can't win, and Vegeta admits to being 2 steps behind Goku, and that their only hope is Goku's plan, whatever that may be. However, much to everyone's shock, Goku forfeits and asks if he can choose the next person to go against Cell. After Cell agrees, Goku chooses Gohan, which is another shock to everyone, to the point that even Piccolo thinks Goku has lost his mind. Regardless, Gohan agrees to enter the fight and takes off his weighted clothing, which is when Goku asks Krillin for a sensu bean, which he then throws it to Cell. After Cell eats it, Gohan powers up, and the two start fighting, though they seem to be evenly matched at first. As the fight goes on, Gohan tries to convince Cell to stop this battle, as it is pointless and that he doesn't like to fight, and doesn't want to kill anyone, but Cell refuses once Gohan reveals that he gets stronger when he gets angry. Cell tries to injure Gohan to draw out his anger, but this isn't working, as the heroes just watch on in horror. Goku doesn't step in to stop this, so Piccolo tries to get it through to him that Gohan doesn't like fighting, and that Goku basically sent him into his death. He also says that rage isn't going through Gohan's mind, that he's instead wondering why his dad won't help him when he is getting hurt like this. So, Goku asks for a sensu bean from Krillin, while Cell realizes that this isn't making Gohan angry, so he decides to do something to his friends and family instead. So, he takes the bag of sensu beans from Krillin, and then once Gohan charges at him, he knocks the boy away, saying that if he's going to get mad, he should do it for real. This is when number 16 steps in, grabs Cell, and tries to blow himself up, so that Cell will be taken out with him. However, Krillin reveals that he can't blow himself up, as Dr. Briefs removed the bomb from within the android. So, Cell blasts number 16, which just leaves his head behind, then kicks it away. At this point, Cell decides to make some Cell Juniors to fight the remaining heroes, but since Gine and Raditz are present in this timeline, he must make 9 instead of the usual 7, which he sends them after the other heroes to injure them, and says he doesn't care if they kill him. As Gohan sees his friends and family get beat down, his anger starts to rise, but it hasn't reached the point of boiling over quite yet. Back with number 16's disembodied head, he asks Hercule to take him over to Gohan, which, after he gets a little bit closer, he does throw the head over so it lands at Gohan's feet. Number 16 then tells Gohan it wasn't wrong to fight for a good cause, and that some people like Cell won't listen to words, so he'd have to let his anger go. He knows how he feels, but says he doesn't have to hold back. Android 16 then asks him to protect the forest and animals that he grew to love, which is when Cell walks over and crushes 16's head beneath his foot, which, as we all know, this is the usual moment that Cell messed up, as this was the catalyst to cause Gohan's anger to boil over, which makes him transform into a Super Saiyan 2. Which, after his transformation finishes, he easily takes the Senzu Beans back from Cell. He then goes on to kill the Cell Juniors, with him taking out all 9 of them with one hit each. He then tosses the Senzu Beans to Trunks and tells him to give one to everyone. As Cell asks Gohan if he really thinks that he can beat him, the other heroes start to get further away from Cell. Gohan just arrogantly replies with, "What do you think?" which causes Cell to power up to his full power. Cell then flies in to try and attack the young boy, but he easily dodges or blocks Cell's attacks as they come at him. Then, when he starts to attack the creature back, even just a couple of punches injure Cell, to the point that his nose starts bleeding. Since none of Cell's attacks work, and he's easily getting pummeled, he resorts to using Kamehameha at full power, since if Gohan dodges it, the Earth will be destroyed. So, Gohan just counters with his own Kamehameha at the last second, which sends both beams into Cell. This greatly injures the bug-like creature, as one of his arms and both of his legs would have been vaporized in the blast. Goku tries to yell to his son to finish off Cell, but Gohan just replies that Cell deserves to suffer more before he dies. Goku tried to yell to finish the fight off now, and that he shouldn't let Cell get desperate, but the young boy ignored his father's pleas. Cell then regenerated his limbs that were destroyed in the blast and tried to power up even further. Though, this basically became the thing he mocked Trunks for, a slow and bulky form that was blinded by his rage. Eventually, Gohan hit the creature so hard that he vomited out number 18, much to everyone's shock. This, of course, caused Cell to revert to his semi-perfect form, which angered him even more. So, he resorted to swelling himself as he was preparing to self-destruct in 60 seconds, which would take out the whole Earth with him, thus causing the Cell games to end in a draw. Gohan went to attack him, but Cell warned him that this would just cause him to explode earlier than usual. Since there was nothing else Gohan could do, he regretted not listening to his father and admitted that this was all his fault for not ending it sooner. Normally, this is where Goku would step in with the instant transmission, but he doesn't have it in this timeline, so instead, it's Gine that steps in as she says goodbye to her sons and everyone else. Once in front of Cell, Gine looks to her grandson and says, "You did great, Gohan. Me and your father are proud of you. I'm glad I got the chance to meet my sons and grandchildren, though I'm sorry that it had to end like this." She then teleports away, with her still ending up on King Kai's planet. As mentioned in the previous part, she went there when trying to find new Namek, because she would know about it. Which, this was the only place she could think to go to. Regardless, right after she arrives, Cell explodes, taking out Gine, King Kai, Bubbles, and his planet with him. Which, back on Earth, they sense that her key is gone, and Gohan starts to have the same breakdown he did after Goku died in the manga, as he reverts to his Super Saiyan form. However, instead of Krillin going to comfort Gohan, Krillin would go and move number 18 off the battlefield. Anyway, it would be Goku trying to comfort his son this time around. He would apologize for making his son fight, but would say that it was over. When Gohan tried to say it was his fault for not listening to his warning, Goku would say it was okay and that mistakes happen. Anyway, the Earth wouldn't have been saved without his power. Which, up in the other world, Gine would be with King Kai and Bubbles. She would apologize for getting his planet destroyed, but would notice Cell's soul isn't there, which makes her and King Kai realize that Cell isn't dead. Back on Earth, as Vegeta was telling Krillin to get rid of number 18, they sense a key appear back on Earth as dust is kicked up from the now returned energy. In the confusion, a blast comes out of the cloud of dust, which shoots Trunks through the chest. As the dust clears, it reveals Cell standing there, now in his super perfect form. Cell will then go on to explain how he survived and became stronger because of his Saiyan cells. At this point, Gohan quickly turned back into his Super Saiyan 2. However, before he got a chance to charge at Cell, an enraged Vegeta yelled out and flew in, since his son was seemingly killed. He quickly became a Super Saiyan and unleashed a volley of blasts on Cell, which stirred up another cloud of dust. The Cell came flying out of the dust and easily swatted the Saiyan Prince away, so that he hit the ground. As he went to kill Vegeta, Gohan jumped in the way, which Cell's blast ended up incapacitating one of the young boy's arms. At this point, Cell had enough of this, so he landed on the ground and started to charge his solar Kamehameha, which would destroy the Earth along with the solar system. Vegeta, after he realized he was just a liability, apologized to Gohan, which made the young boy realize that the prince thought that there was no hope for them. Regardless, as Gohan is on the verge of giving up, Goku tells him not to, as he can do it and to believe in himself. At this point, Gine would also talk to him from the other world with King Kai's help, saying not to give in, and to show her his strength one last time. So, Gohan would start to charge a Kamehameha, so he could fulfill the wishes of his father and grandmother. They would realize Gohan doesn't have enough energy, so Goku would join in with his own Kamehameha, also, just like in the manga, but instead of Goku's, Gine's spirit was behind him as well, using a blast of her own. While the Kamehamehas of Cell and Gohan were in a stalemate, Vegeta threw a blast at Cell, which provided enough of a distraction for the combined blast to be able to overtake Cell's, thus vaporizing the bug-like monster once and for all. After the smoke clears, Gohan collapses on the ground out of exhaustion, and Goku picks him up to take him to the lookout. Vegeta, however, doesn't say he'll never fight again and fly off, since Goku is still around. Regardless, both Hercule and Jimmy Firecracker get up at this time, with him asking Hercule where Cell went, and as usual, Hercule steals all the credit of defeating Cell. Meanwhile, up on the lookout, number 18 awakens and is quickly told by Krillin that Cell was killed by Gohan. Piccolo still says she should thank Krillin, since he cared for her after Cell vomited her out, which is when Gohan butts in, as he realized Krillin was in love with her. 18 quickly leaves after this, and Piccolo goes to summon a dragon, which number 18 comes back and hides once seeing the sky get dark, which piqued her curiosity. Anyway, they wish all the people had died at the hands of Cell to be revived, which everyone comes back except Gine. When they try to wish her back in a separate wish, Gine tells them from the other world that she didn't want to be revived, as she didn't believe there was anything else she wanted to do / needed to do in the living world. Krillin then uses a second wish to remove the bombs from number 17 and number 18. After this, number 18 still reveals herself when Krillin gets the wrong idea, and informs them that number 17 is her brother, though number 18 then says, "later," and takes off, which gives Krillin at least a little bit of hope of seeing her again. After this, everyone else except Piccolo leaves the lookout, and the next day, Trunks goes back to the future. Since the Cell games have ended, I figured I would finally talk about the future timeline before moving forward with the present timeline, which, to do that, we must go back to age 764, which is when King Cold was coming to Earth after the death of his son, though obviously, there isn't a future Trunks to come back and save them. So, between the heroes, it is a very somber mood as they think the Earth is done for, as none of them had the power to defeat Frieza, let alone to be able to defeat King Cold. So, once King Cold arrives, he sends out all the soldiers to fight for him, as they wait for the Super Saiyan to arrive. Though, before they can take off to go and start to attack the planet, the warrior that defeated Frieza teleports in front of them. She would have been coming back in her pod by now, but she would have sensed a key like Frieza's on planet Earth, which is obviously where her destination was, so she decided to teleport there instead. After all, if her son is indeed on this planet, she couldn't just let him, along with his friends and family if he had any, die at the hands of King Cold. Regardless, after she arrives, she would be able to quickly defeat any of his minions without even having to turn Super Saiyan, though, once it comes to fighting the Tyrant, she does indeed have to transform. However, King Cold wouldn't stand a chance against the Saiyan warrior and would be blasted to ashes in a similar way that his son was on Namek, which, now that the Tyrant is dead, she would drop back down to her base form and try to find where the heroes are. She wouldn't have to look far though, as after they sensed that King Cold had died, they would have flown to her to see who had killed King Cold. When she sees Goku, however, it would be a very heartfelt moment, possibly even bringing Gine to tears, since she would be happy to see her son, along with his appearance reminding her of her late husband, Bardock. Regardless, it would have a similar conversation as what I mentioned in the part of the main timeline, with them catching up on what they have been doing in the past years. Though, as usual, Gine would be much more interested in what her son has been doing. Also, as per usual, with the help of Goku and King Kai's guidance, she would go to New Namek to be able to revive Raditz, which, the next couple years go the same, with Raditz and Tights settling down and having their identical twin daughters, along with Goku and Chi-Chi having a Goten a year earlier, since Goku was on Earth earlier. Gine also trains with Goku, Gohan, and Raditz, though Raditz still trains with Vegeta every now and again. However, the happy times don't last, as in age 766, Goku catches the heart virus and dies, which was a shock to his friends and family. This would especially upset Gine greatly, as no parent should have to outlive their child, but unfortunately it does happen. She would grieve over this for a little while, but would eventually realize that she must be strong now, for the sake of her grandchildren. So, after Goku had passed away, she started to help with the training of Gohan, though she didn't force him into training, as she understood his peaceful nature since she was the same way, so they just trained together whenever he wanted to. Chi-Chi would probably be fine with this, so she would at least be happy to see something make Gohan happy after the passing of Goku. Regardless, things get even worse in age 767, since, as you probably guessed, the androids are awoken and start to cause havoc on Earth. Piccolo was the first one to die, which of course also means the Dragon Balls are gone too, since Kami would have died as well. Next, Vegeta would have died at the hands of the android menaces. Also, even though Raditz is more cautious of a Saiyan, I still think he would have been the next to fall in the android's onslaught. Next, Yamcha would die, then Tien, Krillin, and finally Shotzi were killed by the duo, which, because of the death of Raditz and the Z-Fighters, who she would have gotten close to in the last 3 years, she would start to grieve over them, though she would get back to fighting much sooner since she had to be the one to help protect Gohan and the others. However, she would be much less reckless in jumping in to fight the androids, so she doesn't die in this initial onslaught. So, in the years to follow, she would train Gohan, and help him with training Trunks, Goten, and Raditz's daughters, Kami and Kemi. Though, once Gohan gets old enough to help train them, he would probably train Trunks and Goten, while Gine trained Kami and Kemi. There are times they all train together, but it just makes it easier overall to have 2 students each instead of one training 4 or 5 if we count Gohan. Also, something to mention is that while Gine could have teleported them to New Namek, since she knew where it was, she figured it would have been better to wait until after the android threat was dealt with. The Namekian Dragon Balls didn't have a time limit after all, so what would be the point to wish them back just to die again against the androids? So, 12 years would pass, meaning it is now age 779, with Gine having trained them the whole time, along with Gohan training them as well once he got old enough, and holding off the androids too. They wouldn't be able to defeat the androids by any means, but the extra power of Gine being there would at least help them fare a little better against the mechanical menaces. One day, as they're all training together, the androids start their attack on Superworld, which once all of them arrive, Gohan starts to take on Android 17, while Gine started to take on Android 18. Trunks, Goten, Kami, and Kemi would watch from the sidelines, but once Gohan and Gine starts to get beaten down, they try to intervene in the fight. Though, with them intervening, they easily get distracted and start to get beaten down even more by the androids. Gine and Gohan both must save the younger ones from near death, since they can't go Super Saiyan yet, and hide in the debris of the amusement park. However, when they start blasting the amusement park to try and draw them out, Gohan wouldn't be the one to receive an injury here. Sure, he was trying to protect the younger ones, but Gine would have been trying to protect him, so she would probably be the one to take the brunt of the attack. I haven't decided what injury she would receive, but the point is she would be the one to have lost something instead of Gohan losing his arm. Which, when they take Gine back to Bulma and Tights, her grandchildren would be feeling bad that they got in the way, which directly led to her being injured. Though Gine is very forgiving, so when she came through she wouldn't be mad at them, as she would have had rather it had been her than one of them. She couldn't have handled losing one of her grandchildren, after having already lost both of her sons. Regardless, eventually Gine would have recovered from this, but while she was recovering, the younger Saiyans' training would have continued with Gohan. It probably would have taken her a year to recover, as in the manga in the fight feature Gohan died in, Android 17 mentioned it was a year since he last saw him, and was surprised that he escaped from that fight alive. Anyway, one day after Gine finished recovering, she would have gone to a town that wasn't destroyed yet, at the behest of Kami and Kemi, to take them shopping for things like clothes, which Gine would agree to as she must get supplies for all of them anyway. Regardless, while they were walking through the town, the androids would end up starting to attack this town. So, we don't know what happened to Central City in the future timeline, so for the sake of this story that's where I'm going to say that this fight happened. Anyway, when the androids start to attack the city, Gine, Kami, and Kemi would, of course, try to defend the people of the city against the 2 androids, though Kami and Kemi wouldn't be doing much to even one of the androids, let alone trying to take on both at once. Eventually, the android duo would get bored of the twin girls and would just knock them out. That way, they could focus on fighting the one that is interesting for them to fight, which of course is Gine. I believe this fight would start like what Future Gohan's last fight did, with Gine kicking one of the androids, probably Android 18, away. This would damage her outfit and make her annoyed, so once they start fighting they would reveal that they had just been toying with her the whole time. Despite her being outnumbered and having the handicap of her injury, she still puts up a long and suspenseful fight against Android 18. However, she eventually gets bored of this and kills Gine shortly after, which from there, the android duo would bicker about what to do with Kami and Kemi, though in the end they'd leave them alive, as they needed someone to toy with in the future. So, after the 2 twin androids take off, they left the twin girls there passed out. However, once they wake up, it's a rude awakening to say the least, since they would have found their grandmother dead. Also, they probably would be injured from the fight with the androids, but I'm not sure how severe their injuries would be. Regardless, finding their grandmother dead would have been the catalyst for the twin girls to turn Super Saiyan for the first time, much like how Future Gohan's death was the catalyst for Trunks to unlock Super Saiyan for the first time, which, when they eventually make it back to Bulma and the others, they would have to break the news about what happened to Gine. After this, while Cammy and Kenny are recovering, it eventually reaches the point in time where Gohan and Trunks were training together, but are interrupted by the androids starting to attack Pepper Town. Since Gohan didn't want Trunks to go, he knocks him out as usual and heads off towards Pepper Town. Once he arrives, he fares a little better against the two since he still has both arms, but he doesn't stand a chance against one of them, let alone both androids. So, they still end up knocking Gohan to the ground and killing him, then leaving shortly after. However, Trunks still awakens around this time and arrives to find Gohan dead, which as usual, is when he becomes a Super Saiyan as well. Now we jump 3 years ahead to age 783, as Trunks, Kenny, and Kenny come back from gathering supplies, where Bulma and Tights are working on the time machine. However, a news bulletin comes on the radio, saying that the androids are attacking Bridgetown and the 3 Saiyan warriors go off to fight the androids, ignoring the pleas of their mothers. Once they arrive though, they are completely outclassed and toyed with by the androids, but they somehow survive. They then wake up in a hospital bed with their mothers nearby, where they discuss the plans for using the time machine. Then, anywhere from 6 months to a year later, in age 784, Trunks is the one to take it back in time. Both Cammy and Kenny wanted to be the ones to go, but there was only room in the time machine for one person, so for them to decide who went back in time, they drew straws and Trunks won, which I already went over what happens when Trunks was in the past, but to everyone in the future he basically returns right after he left, and tells them how meeting Goku went. Then a year later he goes to the past again to help with the android threat, which what happens there is what we see in the videos I did on the Android and Cell sagas for this timeline. Regardless, Trunks returns and fills in on what happened in the past, then quickly flies off towards Parsley Town, which Android 18 was still in the process of blowing it up since she couldn't beat a video game. Android 18 was quickly annoyed by Trunks' arrival and tried to kill him right away, but he easily deflected her blast and then shot her with his own, vaporizing the android. Android 17 would be in shock because of this, but he would be beaten down easily by the Saiyan warrior and eventually vaporized as well. After this, in the next 3 years, Trunks would take Cammy and Kenny up to the lookout. We never have any confirmation about if it's there or was destroyed in the future timeline, but I'm going to say it was there for the purpose of this story. So, after talking with Mr. Popo, they would go into the hyperbolic time chamber. Trunks would train to master Super Saiyan like Goku and Gohan did, but also train Cammy and Kenny to master it as well. After another 3 years skip into the future, which is now age 788, Trunks and the others had gathered enough power for him to be able to go to the past again and say that he defeated the androids. However, as he was going to the time machine, Cell was getting ready to ambush him. Trunks knew he was there though, and called him out, revealing he knew his plan and revealing that androids 17 and 18 were defeated. Regardless, it wouldn't be Trunks that knocked Cell away from there, it would be the twin sisters in an ambush of their own, knocking him away before flying after him. They then transform into a Super Saiyan and easily beat down the bug monster. However, once Cell tries to resort to using his Kamehameha, the two girls easily beat him with a combined blast, vaporizing the creature. And so, the future was now restored to a time of peace, at least for now. But now we skip 7 years into the future, so it is now age 774. Though, in the last 7 years, since Gine wasn't there to help them get closer, Raditz might have trained more with Vegeta instead. Also, he might have been a little angry with his mother for getting him revived then just to leave like she did. Anyway, we still open with Gohan stopping a robbery on the way to school. However, since Goku is still alive, Gohan probably wouldn't have slacked on training, so his power wouldn't have gotten weaker like it did in the manga. He also still meets Videl, and the rumor of a Golden Warrior starts. Anyway, after school he still goes to Bulma and gets a great Saiyaman costume made. When Videl leaves in the middle of class to try and help with a robbery, Gohan still takes off as well and helps her once they pull out a gun. Regardless, he catches the one that tries to flee. Though, Videl still tricks Gohan into revealing his identity, and she blackmails him to enter the 25th World Martial Arts Tournament, where she'll reveal his secret identity to everyone, along with getting him to agree to teach her to fly. Anyway, when Gohan tells everyone he's entering the next tournament, Vegeta, Raditz, and Goku say they'll enter as well. Even Gine talks to them from the other world and says she'll join, though she was wanting to come back for a day anyway, since she missed seeing her family, which he also tells Krillin and Android 18, then goes and tells Piccolo as well, which all three decide to join. Gohan then starts to train with Goten, which is when he finds out Goten can go Super Saiyan, but Videl arrives to learn how to fly, thus interrupting their training. He teaches her about Ki and how to float, while teaching Goten how to fly, along with giving her the advice of having short hair so it doesn't get in her eyes. Meanwhile, in Vegeta's training, along with Trunks', he finds out that his kid, along with Goku's and Raditz's kids, can all go Super Saiyan. Anyway, 10 days later, Videl was able to fly, allowing everyone else to train normally for the upcoming tournament. Regardless, everyone arrives and signs up, with them being happy to see Gine has returned. Raditz, however, might be a little hesitant because of his anger against Gine basically abandoning him, but he still feels some amount of happiness since she's back. They also still set the rule in place about not going Super Saiyan, so they don't cause people to be reminded about the Cell games. Once the preliminaries begin, they're way different than what we're used to, since it's just using the punch machine this time. Then the Junior Division starts, but since Cammy and Kemi exist in this timeline, there are 37 fighters in this division. Regardless, once their matches start, they basically pass through them with flying colors. However, instead of the finals being between Trunks and Goten, the semi-finals would have Goten and Trunks facing each other, with Cammy and Kemi facing each other in the other match. The fight between Goten and Trunks goes the exact same, with them both going against the rule about not using Super Saiyan, though Trunks still wins the match. As for the fight between Cammy and Kemi, they're about equal in power to each other, so it's basically just a coin toss as to who would win. So, I flipped the coin, and it came up with Cammy being the winner, which, after she wins her fight, she goes on to face Trunks in the finals. However, she has a more cautious nature like what Raditz had, so in this fight she would be much more level-headed than Trunks, so she'd probably use his arrogance and anger against him, securing the win, which Vegeta would have been proud Trunks beat Goten, but disgusted when his son lost to a girl, along with the girl being Raditz's kid, which, in a sparring match between Cammy and Hercule, she easily knocks him out of the ring, but it is seen as Hercule letting her win. Though, since Trunks would be off licking his wounds, the Mighty Mask thing with him and Goten doesn't happen. Regardless, the heroes see two strangers, and one of them mentions having heard about Goku and Gine, and that he wanted to spar with one of them. For the actual matches, I wasn't sure which two fighters to get rid of, but I chose to get rid of Punta and Kila, so they are replaced by Gine and Raditz. So, after the lottery draws, the matches would be as follows. Match 1 is Krillin vs Gine, Match 2 is Shin vs Demon Jr., which is Piccolo trying to hide his name, Match 3 is Videl vs Spopovich, Match 4 is Kibito vs the Great Saiyaman, Match 5 is number 18 vs Hercule, Match 6 is Goku vs Vegeta, Match 7 is Mighty Mask vs Raditz, and Match 8 is Yamu vs Jewel. Gine would easily win in her match against Krillin, and Piccolo would still forfeit when he senses who Shin is. While the match between Videl and Spopovich starts, Piccolo would ask Shin who he was, then once he answers, he asks Piccolo to keep his identity secret. Videl would be seemingly winning her match, but as she gets tired out she starts to lose. As she gets battered around, Gohan starts to get angry, but Yamu still tells him to stop fooling around, so Spopovich throws her out of the ring. Meanwhile, Gine goes and gets some sensu beans from Korin, which Gohan uses to heal Videl when she gets back. In the fight with Kibito and Gohan, he tells Gohan to go Super Saiyan, which he wasn't going to at first, but Piccolo told him to, which Shin then tells the other heroes not to intervene, that this is part of their plan, which is when Piccolo reveals he is the Supreme Kai. Regardless, Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2, which is when Yamu and Spopovich intervene, stealing his energy. Shin, Piccolo, Vegeta, Goku, Raditz, and Gine take off after the Majin duo, while Kibito stays behind to heal Gohan. After he is healed, Kibito, Gohan, and Videl take off, while Shin explains to the heroes who Bibidi was, and that they are trying to stop Babidi from awakening Boo. Videl heads back to the tournament while Gohan and Kibito catch up, suppressing their energy as they reach Babidi's hideout. This is also when they realize that the Bora is under Babidi's control as well. Then after Yamu and Spopovich deliver the energy they collected, Babidi kills Spopovich and has Pui Pui kill Yamu when he tries to flee. Which, even as the heroes are hidden, the Bora and Babidi notice that they are there. So, Babidi tasks the Bora with killing the heroes except the Supreme Kai, while he had Pui Pui go back inside the base. Once the Bora flies at them, he quickly blasts and kills Kibito, along with using his spit to turn Krillin and Piccolo both into stone. So, Goku, Vegeta, Raditz, Gohan, and Gine all basically ignore the warnings of Shin as they follow the Bora into Babidi's base. Shin still enters the base as well, and Babidi sends Pui Pui after them at the same time. They still all played rock, paper, scissors to see who got to fight him, and Vegeta won. When they start the fight, he basically doesn't stand a chance against the Saiyan Prince, so Babidi made the room look like Pui Pui's home planet. Regardless, this did absolutely nothing, and Vegeta kills Pui Pui, which the room then turns back to normal. Next was Goku's turn, which is when Babidi sent Yakon out to face him. Babidi makes the ship look like the Dark Planet, but even though Goku can't see him, he was still able to tell where he was. He then illuminates the ship by turning Super Saiyan, which is when Yakon shows he can consume the light. So, to counter this, Goku goes Super Saiyan 2, which causes him to consume too much energy and explode. Gohan is the one to go next, but the Bora also offers to be the next one to fight. Back at the tournament, Hercule gets the idea to make the tournament a battle royale between him and the remaining three fighters, Android 18, Mighty Mask, and Jewel, which, Android 18 would easily take out Jewel and Mighty Mask, since it's really him and not Goten and Trunks this time. Which, the fight between Android 18 and Hercule would go the same, with her blackmailing Hercule to give her 20 million zenny or he'll lose. So, he agrees, and Android 18 pretends to be knocked out of the ring by him. Currently, Videl arrives and tells Goten, Trunks, Candy, and Kenny about what is happening with where their parents are, which they find this cool, and they want to see Boo, so they quickly take off towards where they can sense their ki. Back in the fight between Gohan and Deborah, he wouldn't be struggling this time, as he didn't get weaker than he was back in the Cell Saga. However, Vegeta and Raditz were getting impatient with this, as Vegeta just wanted to fight Goku, and Raditz just wanted to fight in general. Regardless, Babidi transports them back to the ship. When Deborah gets back to Babidi, he mentions that there are 2 fighters with wicked souls that they can use. So, Babidi tries to place them under the control of his Majin magic, and for Vegeta it does succeed. Even though Goku was still around, I think Vegeta would still be angry since he was just wanting to fight Goku, and he was also wanting to get back to his evil ways. As for Raditz, it's hard to say if he would have an anger like Vegeta's, but he probably would have that Saiyan desire for how he used to be. Though, as mentioned earlier, someone he potentially would have been angry with would have been Gine, as she revived him to see him again, and basically just left a couple of years later. So, the whole point of this is that I believe Babidi would be able to put both Raditz and Vegeta under his control. Babidi then transports them back to the tournament arena, but when he tries to give Raditz and Vegeta orders, they basically ignore him as they just want to fight with Gine and Goku. Vegeta and Raditz end up killing part of the tournament audience to try and get Goku and Gine to fight them, while Bulma and Tights ask what's gotten into them. They just ignore this, however, and destroy more of the crowd, where Vegeta talks about not being able to stand Goku surpassing him and even saving his life, while Raditz talks about never being able to see Gine again after this, so she just planned to go back to Otherworld. Shin still tries to get in the way of Goku and Vegeta fighting, saying that he would have to go through him, so Goku gets ready to blast him. After Shin steps down, Babidi then transports them back to the area outside his ship, where Shin tries to break inside the ship. Though, when Babidi orders Vegeta and Raditz to kill Shin, they both resist these demands. Goku still gives Gohan a sensu bean as Babidi opens the ship, so Shin and Gohan go inside. Back outside of the ship, Goku, Gine, Raditz, and Vegeta all go Super Saiyan 2, as their fight basically starts with them going blow for blow with each other. Meanwhile, Babidi transports himself, Deborah, Gohan, Shin, and the sealed ball outside of the ship, so their fight doesn't damage the ship. However, as the fight between the 4 Saiyans continues, the sealed ball has finally obtained enough energy for Boo to be awoken, which, as the fight drags on, Goten, Trunks, Candy, and Kenny would all sense this and wonder if that was their dads fighting. However, both Raditz and Vegeta end up revealing they wanted to both get stronger and feel like a ruthless Saiyan again, so they let Babidi control them. As the sealed ball starts to open, Shin tells Gohan they need to flee. He gets angry instead and tries to blast Deborah and Babidi, but they move so it hits the ball instead. It was futile though, as Majin Buu was still awoken. Back with Vegeta, Raditz, Goku, and Gine, the mother and son duo try to stop the fight as they sense Buu was released. However, Vegeta and Raditz are having none of this, so their fight continues. Back with Buu, Deborah ends up calling the Gine a fat, stupid loser, so this angers him and he starts to attack Deborah. The Half Saiyan children are still on their way when they sense Buu's energy, which they still think it'll be cool to see a genie and keep heading towards it. Meanwhile, Goku and Gine try to stop their fights again, so when they distract the two by asking for a sensu bean, Goku and Gine are knocked out. Gohan and Shin take off, but Majin Buu chases after them and starts to beat the two down. Buu seemingly kills Gohan, but the Supreme Kai helps save him. As Buu is going to kill the Supreme Kai, Deborah attacks Buu. This is also when the Half Saiyan children arrive, but they accidentally knock over the statue of Piccolo before going back to hide and watch the fight. Meanwhile, Vegeta and Raditz realize that Gohan's ki is gone and says it's their fault, while Buu turns Deborah into a cookie and eats him, which this causes Krillin and Piccolo to come back, much to the surprise of the young kids. Before Buu was able to kill Shin, Vegeta and Raditz destroy Babidi's ship, thus distracting the pink monster from Shin. From there, Babidi orders Buu to kill the two Saiyans, so they start to fight Buu and are seemingly winning. However, this doesn't last long, as Buu powers up in his fit of anger, which Buu starts to beat down on Vegeta then Raditz, so Trunks transforms to Super Saiyan along with Candy and Kenny, as Goten follows them. From there, Piccolo then appears behind Babidi and slices him in half, seemingly killing the Warlock. Back with Vegeta and Raditz, Vegeta still gives Trunks a hug before knocking him and Goten out, with Raditz essentially doing the same with Candy and Kenny. Vegeta and Raditz then have Piccolo and Krillin get the Saiyan children out of there, but before they do, Raditz asks if he'd see Gine in the other world, so Piccolo tells him the truth that he wouldn't, and then they leave, which As Vegeta starts to charge up for his final atonement, Raditz takes the page from how he died before and holds on to Boo like how Goku held on to him. So, Vegeta obviously still uses his final atonement, which takes out himself and Raditz in the process. From there, Piccolo tells Krillin to take the children home and to let their families know what happened, as he must see the aftermath of Vegeta's and Raditz's sacrifices. He also says to tell them that Gohan died, as he heard the two mention Gohan died. When Piccolo arrives back at where they sacrifice themselves, he finds that Babidi is still alive, though before he can finish the warlock off, he notices that parts of Boo are still there and are moving, so before Boo can completely reform, Piccolo quickly flies off. From there, Boo heals Babidi while Piccolo meets up with Krillin and makes a plan for them to go up to the lookout, as it is the only safe place, and that the Saiyan children are basically their only hope now. And as Babidi and Majin Buu take off, it's revealed that Shin is still alive, and he tries to see if Gohan is alive as well. So, we pick back up as Goku and Gine wake up, and then Gine teleports them up to the lookout. So, once they arrive, Dende heals the two and Piccolo explains everything that happened. The heroes would think Goku or Gine could beat Boo, but they reveal they're just as strong as Raditz and Vegeta were. When Gine reveals that they could have taught fusion to Goku if Gohan or Vegeta was alive, Mr. Popo says that Trunks, Goten, Kami, and Kemi are similar in size and power to each other. Though, since Gine must leave soon, she can only teach him for a little while, and would have Goku and Piccolo take over after she leaves. Anyway, they realize Bulma summoned Shenron since the sky went dark, so Gine teleports there to stop her. However, she was too late, as they already made a wish to revive everyone that died that day. So, Gine tells Shenron they don't have any more wishes, and then explains why she stopped them, which is revived Kibito, so he goes and heals Shin. From there, they go to Gohan and take him back to the Supreme Kai realm before healing him. Anyway, the heroes still break the news that Vegeta, Raditz, and Gohan have died, but they are interrupted by Bobby speaking telepathically to them and asking for Piccolo, Trunks, Goten, Kami, and Kemi, which, since they didn't show themselves immediately, Bobby had Boo turn a whole city to candy and eat them, before destroying the city right after. Meanwhile, in Supreme Kai's realm, Gohan is healed, and Shin announces his plan to train him with the Z-Sword. Regardless, Gine, Goku, and Piccolo start trying to train the Saiyan children to use the fusion dance. In the meantime, Babidi and Boo continue traversing the planet, and the Warlock has Boo destroy another city to try and draw the heroes out of hiding. However, Babidi eventually mentions to them he found out one of the people he is looking for lives in West City, so he was going to go there to destroy the city, which Bulma and Trunks convince Gine to go install Babidi and Majin Buu, while Trunks goes to get the Dragon Radar. When Gine appears in front of Babidi, she tells them that someone is training to beat them and to just wait, but this doesn't work, so she must stall them. Much like Goku in the manga, she asks Boo why he lets Babidi boss him around when he is so much stronger than the Warlock. Regardless, to stall for time, Gine goes through the forms to show Boo what they are. So, she starts off with her base form, and she transforms to Super Saiyan, then she transforms again into Super Saiyan 2, which after this, she goes even further beyond and reveals the Super Saiyan 3 power that she found. When the fight first starts, neither she nor Boo seem to be getting noticeably damaged. Then, when Gine tries to use the Maiden Blast against Boo, he eventually copies and uses this blast as well. Regardless, when she senses Trunks had left the city, Boo asks why she turned back. She says that she doesn't have the time to do this, and that in 2 days the fighter will come if they stop this killing. Babidi refuses, so she says something like that's too bad, it would have been fun for Boo, then she teleports away, leaving Boo and Babidi alone. Babidi tries to order Boo to chase after her, but he still uses the trick of saying he has a good idea, and grabs Babidi by the throat so he can't say the incantation to steal him away. From there, Boo kills Babidi, which Gine notices immediately while she is on the lookout, and then tells Piccolo what happened. Unfortunately, Boo decides to play Kill the Humans, while he waits for the strong fighters to show up. So, since Fortune Teller Baba arrived and said she only has 30 minutes left on Earth, they get back to training the kids about fusion the moment Trunks returns. With the help of Goku and Piccolo, Gine demonstrates the fusion dance for the children. In the meantime, Boo makes his house, but shortly after he goes back to finding people to kill. Anyway, up on the lookout, Fortune Teller Baba tells Gine that it's time to return to the afterlife, so she says her goodbyes and leaves. When she gets into the other world, she asks King Gamma if Gohan has come through there, and he reveals he hasn't. However, she senses his ki, so she teleports to it, which of course takes her to the sacred world of the Kai. She then explains what happened on Earth, and tries to see if she can lift the Z-Sword as well. One day later, as the Saiyan children continue to train, Boo has already destroyed 2/3 of the planet. Boo also eventually finds a blind kid, but when he sees he isn't scared, he heals him to see if he'd be scared then. When he tries to give Boo money since he couldn't find milk, Boo goes and turns someone into milk for him and leaves. Back on the sacred world of the Kai, they still try to test the sword with catching, but it breaks the sword and releases old Kai. However, Gine wouldn't attack him like Goku did, so he would be more willing to show his special power without having to be bribed. Regardless, old Kai starts the ritual of unlocking Gohan's potential, while back on Earth, Piccolo believes the children are ready to practice fusion for real this time. Though, when all four try it, they still mess up the fusion, with them getting the fat version first, then the skinny version, which, once they get it right the third time, Gotenks would still try to take off and fight Boo, but comes back beaten up. Also, speaking of Gotenks, Piccolo would have them try all the fusion combinations to see which one would produce the strongest fusion. The potential combinations and results would be as follows. Goten and Trunks is Gotenks, obviously. Goten and Kami would make Gotami. Goten and Kami would make Chi-Ten. Trunks and Kami would make Chamsks. Trunks and Kami would make True Hemi. Kami and Kami would make Kimi. I personally think that a fusion of family, especially one between identical twin sisters, would be stronger than a fusion of two friends. So the fusions that are used would be Kimi and Gotenks. At the end of one day, 80% of the population was destroyed by Boo, which even the military tried to stop him, but it was to no avail. The people of Earth still had hope though, because Hercule planned to try and face Boo. When he arrives, he still tries to give him poisoned chocolate and the bomb, but neither work. So Boo ends up making Hercule his servant. Meanwhile, the Saiyan children try practicing fusing while Super Saiyans, so Gotenks still tries to go and face Boo after showing off his power, but quickly defuses after getting there, so they flee. Kimi didn't go with them, though, as they get the cautious side from Raditz, so they listen to Piccolo's advice on staying back. Boo still eventually gets the dog and heals it, and he names it B. Eventually, Hercule still questions why Boo kills people and destroys things, and he says he was made to by his creators. Once Hercule tells him it isn't right to do that, he agrees to stop his killings and destruction. However, B is still eventually shot by Van Zandt, along with him blowing up Boo's house, which Hercule then beats him down and has Boo come over to heal B, though Van Zandt gets up and almost kills Hercule, which pushes Boo's anger over the edge. Even after healing Hercule, his anger doesn't subside, and he tells Hercule to flee with B, or they'll be killed. Boo then expels his evil side as per usual, which his evil side then goes and kills Van Zandt. The two Boos then start to fight, and Evil Boo reflects Good Boo's chocolate beam, thus turning Good Boo into chocolate. Then when Evil Boo eats the now chocolate Good Boo, he transforms into Super Boo. Before Boo leaves, he kills the guy that shoots him and he goes to kill Hercule, but he seemingly recognizes him at the last minute, so he leaves instead. Boo arrives on the lookout demanding to fight the strong warrior he was promised, but Piccolo says he isn't ready. He tries to get Boo to go and finish the rest of the humans to stall for time, but he does so in one blast. So, Piccolo resorts to using an hourglass that will last 1 hour, and when Boo refuses to wait, Piccolo tells him that Hercule's daughter wants him to wait too, so he agrees. Piccolo then has Goku take the children to the Room of Spirit and Time, while down on the Earth we see Tien, Shatsu, and Hercule survive. Chi-Chi then walks up and slaps Boo for killing Gohan, so he turns her into an egg and crushes it. While the children go in the time chamber, Videl asks Piccolo why Boo knew Hercule, so he explains to her what Hercule did. I think Goku would have followed them into the time chamber at this point, so that he could help them with practicing fusion like Piccolo was. Boo eventually gets impatient, so Piccolo takes him to the hyperbolic time chamber, but he takes a long way around. Piccolo eventually lets him inside, and once in there, Boo attacks Trunks, thinking that the children themselves were the fighters. After they fuse, both Gotenks and Kimi wouldn't be doing any damage in their base forms, so they must resort to using Super Saiyan. They seemingly kill Boo with the Super Ghost Kamikaze attack, but he still regenerates from this. Piccolo ends up destroying the entrance to the time chamber, but Boo escapes and turns everyone on the lookout into chocolate. Though, Gotenks and Kimi go Super Saiyan 3 and escape with Goku and Piccolo as well. The fight seems to be going back and forth, but before they could finish him off with their blast, they revert to base form. Meanwhile, Old Kai finishes unlocking Gohan's potential, so Kibito takes him back to Earth. Though as Gotenks defuses and Boo goes to sleep, Gohan arrives, which just wakes Boo up. Gohan was beating Boo down, so Super Boo ends up exploding himself, but they realize he's still alive and has some sort of secret plan. Though they fly off and eventually they see Hercule and rescue him, along with finding Dende, but Boo comes flying back towards them shortly after. However, Boo still taunts the children into fusing, which even works on Kami and Kemi, since they're cautious like Raditz, but they're still kids and can easily be provoked by Boo saying things like they're just scared. So, they both fuse to Super Saiyan 3 right away, and Boo takes his chance to absorb them. Like I mentioned earlier, I believe Kimi would be the stronger of the two fusions, so Boo's appearance would be the Kimi absorbed version instead of the Gotenks absorbed version, which even Piccolo is absorbed by Boo as well, just leaving Gohan, Goku, Dende, and Hercule unabsorbed. While Gohan starts to be beaten down, Back on the sacred world of the Kai, old Kai says he'll give Gine his life, since she's our best hope now. In other world, King Yima has fortune teller Baba take both Vegeta and Raditz back to Earth as well, as he believes that the heroes need their help. Before Gine can leave, the now dead old Kai asks her what she plans to do, since Buu won't let them do the fusion dance. So, he gives her the Potara earrings, explaining what they can do, which Kibito and Supreme Kai test this out, so they end up fusing into Kibito Kai, though, when asking how they can defuse, old Kai reveals that they can't. Regardless, Gine teleports away, as Buu is about to destroy the Earth. Back on Earth, as Dende heals Gohan, Tien arrives to try and help them, but it doesn't really do much. As he gets ready to destroy the Earth, Gine arrives and distracts Buu by slicing him in half with a saucer. Gine wouldn't be sure who to fuse with, but since Gohan was the strongest there, she tries to throw the earring to him, but he doesn't catch it. However, when Gohan eventually finds it, Kimi's and Gotenks' fusions have just ended, so Buu resorts to his Piccolo absorbed form, though he still absorbs Gohan, leaving Goku as the only real option for Gine to fuse with. Goku picks up the dropped earring and puts it on, causing him and Gine to fuse into Ginku. Since for this fusion, I use Gine as the prominent name, I'll say the fusion's gender is female. Regardless, the fight starts with them in base form, but they quickly turn Super Saiyan. Also, during this time, Vegeta and Raditz arrive on Earth, so they fly off towards where Buu and Ginku is once they sense their ki. Regardless, Buu is getting destroyed in the fight, but she willingly lets Buu absorb her, though, once inside Buu's body, they diffuse back into Gine and Goku. Once they start cutting people out, Buu goes to see what is happening, but when Goku threatens to cut good Buu out, he gets scared. So, Goku does cut the other Buu out, as Buu transforms into his buff form, they escape from his body. Though, shortly after, he finishes transforming into Kid Buu. Regardless, with the help of Kibito Kai arriving, Gine manages to teleport herself along with Goku, Vegeta, Raditz, Hercule, and Dende as Kid Buu destroys the planet. When they try to give Goku the Potara, he turns them down, even though Gine was willing to fuse again. From there, as Kid Buu arrives on the sacred world of the Kai, Kibito Kai teleports away with Dende and old Kai. Gine goes Super Saiyan 3 to fight Kid Buu, with Goku helping fight the Gine as well. Vegeta and Raditz would be watching, with them both realizing and having the monologue about why Gine and Goku surpassed them, as well as coming to accept it. Though, when Gine eventually says she needs a minute to build up her energy, Goku, Vegeta, and Raditz all fight with Buu to stall him. They fare a little better than Vegeta did by himself in the manga, but they still start getting beaten down. Hercule then jumped in and yelled at Buu, and when Kid Buu tried to attack him, he couldn't bring himself to. So, Kid Buu spit out Good Buu and tried to beat down on Hercule, but Fat Buu interrupted and fought with Kid Buu. Gine ends up dropping out of Super Saiyan 3, along with the others being in their base forms too after being clobbered, as well as Fat Buu admitting he can't defeat Kid Buu. Kibito Kai then arrives on New Namek, where Vegeta then tells him to use the Dragon Balls to wish for the Earth to be restored and then wish everyone that was killed after the tournament and that it isn't bad to be revived. While Fat Buu continues to be beaten down, everyone is revived, along with Vegeta and Raditz. Anyway, Vegeta starts speaking to the people of Earth, telling them to give their energy so that Goku can use the Spirit Bomb against Buu. Since Vegeta asking wasn't working, he, Raditz, and Gine go to fight Buu, leaving Goku to ask for more energy, though even him asking the people of Earth only gets a little bit more, but when Hercule jumps in and says he's the one fighting Buu, everyone on Earth gives their energy to Goku. Once he sends the Spirit Bomb at Kid Buu, as usual, Buu starts to push it back. So, they use the third wish to have Goku's energy restored, which just allows him to turn Super Saiyan. Goku then mentions his wish about wanting Buu to be reincarnated as a good guy, and he finishes Kid Buu off with a Spirit Bomb and drops back to his base form. Everyone on Earth starts to cheer for Hercule, while Dende and Kibito Kai return and start to heal everyone. Though, when Hercule finds Buu, Vegeta was going to blast and kill him so that he couldn't make another monster. Goku convinces Vegeta to stop though, so Dende goes and heals Buu, which everyone then returns to the lookout, but they freak out when they see Fat Buu, but Goku explains to them why Buu was there. Regardless, everyone goes back to their normal lives, the humans believing Hercule is their savior once again. Though, 6 months later, all their memories of Buu are wished to be erased, so they just remember Hercule saved them from something. As we now skip 4 years to age 778. Though, something to mention is that I'm following the anime version of Dragon Ball Super, since I like it more than the manga. I'm also combining some aspects of the Battle of Gods movie into it. Since the Ox King was running out of money to support Goku and Chi-Chi, she made Goku get a job as a radish farmer. Though, unbeknownst to them, on a faraway planet alarm bombs go off, as Whis enters to wake up Beerus. After he is up and is having breakfast, Beerus asks about if Planet Vegeta was destroyed, Then when he mentions wanting to destroy Frieza, Whis informs him that he was killed. So, Whis goes on to explain that a Saiyan named Gine is the one that killed Frieza. At first the Super Saiyan part sounds familiar, but so I can combine the movie and the anime, he can't place what it is currently. Instead, he ends up going to the planet, and once he tries their food, he destroys half of the planet since their food was too greasy for them. Meanwhile on Earth, Hercule was having a press conference, though Boo interrupted because he was hungry. Because of this, Hercule must explain that Boo is an alien that came to be his disciple. At some point in the past 4 years, Gohan and Videl were married. Since Goten was wanting to get Videl a wedding present, Trunks, Cammy, and Kenny help him with this. They still get the spring water and are attacked by a snake, but they take it down easily. Regardless, Hercule shows up and gives Goku the 100 million Zeni for defeating Boo. From there, he goes and gives it to Chi-Chi so that he can now go and train on King Kai's planet. Something to mention here is that Gine would have taught her children how to use instant transmission in the last 4 years, so both Goku and Raditz know it, which is how he can reach King Kai's planet. She would have tried teaching her grandchildren too, but they didn't have the patience for learning it. Then on the Sacred World of the Kai, Old Kai and Kabuto Kai were paying attention to Beerus as they sense another planet is destroyed. While Goku is training on King Kai's planet, Vegeta and Raditz go on a vacation by taking their children to an amusement park. Though eventually, Vegeta gets annoyed by this and takes off the train, with Raditz going with him. Meanwhile, on a planet called Majina, Whis arrives and tries to get the dinosaur for Beerus to eat. Though it refuses, and once the impatient god of destruction arrives, he fights with the alien chief. Beerus then destroys the planet, which reminds him of his dream about the Super Saiyan God, while the Old Kai and Kabuto Kai instantly notice his planet being destroyed. As Beerus and Whis head home, the Old Kai and Kabuto Kai discuss that Goku can never meet Beerus as he would try to challenge him. This is when King Kai talks to them telepathically, saying that Goku is training on his planet currently. Then back at Beerus' planet, Beerus asks the Oracle Fish about his dream and the prophecy he was told 39 years ago, since Whis was skeptical about this dream. The fish doesn't recall at first, until eventually when Beerus threatens to only feed him twice a day. The fish remembers the warrior was called the Super Saiyan God. Whis then tells him where the Saiyans are currently, and since Goku/King Kai's planet is closest, they leave to go there. Meanwhile, Krillin, Android 18, Marin, Yamcha, Puar, Tien, Shatsu, Gohan, Videl, Chi-Chi, Gine, and Piccolo arrive at the cruise ship for Bulma's birthday party. Master Roshi, Oolong, Hercule, Boo, along with Raditz, Tights, Cammy, Kenny, Trunks, and Goten are already there. While King Kai tries to get Goku to leave his planet, the half-Saiyan children go to look at the top prize. The Emperor Pilaf, Mai, and Shu eventually notice the Dragon Balls on the ship and are led on by the children. While Vegeta is training, he's interrupted by Bulma calling him to tell him to get to her party now. Back on King Kai's planet, he accidentally let Beerus' name slip, so he's left with no choice but to explain who Beerus is, though he ends up hiding Goku inside of his house when Beerus and Whis arrive. While King Kai talks to Beerus, the God of Destruction eventually calls out to Goku for him to come there, which, when asking about the Super Saiyan God, Goku and King Kai both say they only know about Super Saiyan. Though once he challenges him to a friendly match, he can't hit him at all in Super Saiyan. Even as a Super Saiyan 2, he can't land a hit, and since this is his highest form, Beerus eventually gets bored and knocks Goku down like he did to him when he was in his Super Saiyan 3 form. Beerus then heads to Earth to ask Vegeta about the Super Saiyan God. King Kai then speaks to Vegeta telepathically, warning him that Beerus is on his way there. Which, now that Vegeta knows Beerus is heading there, he rushes off to Bulma's birthday party. However, before he gets the chance to have warned everyone, Beerus and Whis have already arrived. Vegeta says he doesn't know anything about the Super Saiyan God, and when Bulma comes over, she invites Beerus and Whis to join the party. Festivities like Beerus' breakdancing, Piccolo singing karaoke, and Whis eating still happens up to the point that when the kids have a squirt gun fight, they accidentally spray Beerus. However, Vegeta calms him down by catching an octopus and cooking it. Then, while the Pilaf gang causes their usual shenanigans, Gohan appears as the Great Saiyaman, asking Mai to shoot him. One of the bullets accidentally hits Videl and one hits Beerus, so while Dende heals Videl, Vegeta again tries to calm Beerus by announcing the bingo tournament, then does his song and dance about it. Eventually he gets tired of Octopus, and when Whis mentions pudding, they try to go and get some from Boo and Hercule, though Boo refuses to share and licks them all, thus angering the God of Destruction. When Hercule tries to intervene, both Beerus and Boo tell him to shut up and knock him away, though when Boo tries to fight Beerus, none of his attacks work, so he easily knocks Boo away. Boo, now even more irritated, comes back to try and fight Beerus, but he is left badly beaten up after this. Android 18, Tien, and Piccolo then all try and attack the God of Destruction, but they are taken out one by one. Android 18 was taken out with a strike to the neck, Tien is stopped by a pair of chopsticks, Piccolo is knocked unconscious from these chopsticks. As Beerus retrieves Boo from the water, Gohan tries to attack him, but his head is slammed into Boo's when he's taken down with a kick. Goten and Trunks then fuse to Gotenks while Kami and Kemi fuse to Kimi, but even as Super Saiyans, the young fusions are defeated. Vegeta, getting fed up with this, is the next one that decides to try and attack Beerus, though he is swiftly defeated by the God of Destruction, and as he is about to be killed, Bulma walks up and slaps Beerus. Beerus then makes the mistake of slapping Bulma back, which causes Vegeta to explode in rage, though after his rampage ends, he's easily defeated by the angered god. Raditz, seeing no other option, steps up next, but he is swiftly defeated as well. Lastly, Gine steps up to face Beerus, which would at least catch Beerus' attention, since he would remember Whis showing him the warrior that defeated Frieza, which was her. This would also be the time Beerus sees Super Saiyan 3, as Goku doesn't have that form in this timeline. This fight would be very similar to the one between Goku and Beerus, though she would fare a little better since she is slightly stronger than what Canon Goku was at this time. However, she's still eventually defeated in 2 blows and is knocked to the ground. As Beerus gets ready to destroy the Earth, he is bribed by Bulma to not destroy it so he can try more of their food. So, he gives him one more chance and chooses Oolong to face him in a game of rock, paper, scissors, since he thinks he is from the same race as Boo. Regardless, Oolong loses this game after 3 tries, so Beerus gets ready to destroy the planet again. However, when he mentions not having been able to find the Super Saiyan God, this jogs part of Gine's memory. Before this, he only mentioned the Super Saiyan God to Goku and Vegeta, as during his tantrum he was too worried about the pudding to think about asking them about the Super Saiyan God. Gine, however, remembers hearing and reading about the Super Saiyan God in the Namekian Book of Legends, though since that's been so long, the details are a little fuzzy. But she still interrupts Beerus, telling him that she knows someone that would know how to find the Super Saiyan God. This quells Beerus' anger for at least a minute, as he hears her out. So, when she explains the Namekian Book of Legends, he allows her to go and teleport there, with Beerus going with her too. Once there, they ask the current Grand Elder, Mori, if they can see the book, so they can read about the Super Saiyan God. This is when they find out about the ritual and that they need 5 pure-hearted Saiyans to put their power into 1 Saiyan. They then head back and tell everyone what they have learned about the ritual, so they decide to do it. Goku would also probably reveal himself here, so them finding out about the Super Saiyan God part would have piqued his interest. Anyway, I tried to make a poll about who should be the Super Saiyan God in this timeline, but it ended in a tie between Gine and Raditz. Since I'm not making 2 Super Saiyan Gods appear right now, as the Oracle Fish's prophecy only mentioned 1 rival, I left it up to the discretion of my friend that suggested this what if to choose, which she said to make Gine the one to go through the ritual. This works story-wise as well too though, since she is the strongest Saiyan currently, it would make sense to have chosen her. So, the main difference here is that they never have to summon Shenron, so Emperor Pilaf's suspicions about the Dragon Balls being on the ship aren't proven. When they first try the ritual, Raditz, Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan try to pour their energy into Gine. Her power raises by quite a bit, and she gains a sparkly aura, which is when Krillin believes she has achieved godhood. However, Piccolo mentions that she didn't, she just gathered more power, and Beerus confirms this, as the god's power isn't shown in their battle power. Whis tells them they misunderstood, that it must be 5 Saiyans putting their power into 1, so a total of 6 Saiyans, which there are more Saiyans than they need for the ritual, so Videl doesn't reveal she is pregnant yet. So, when they try the ritual again, Kami joins in this time, which, as the ritual is completed, Gine achieves the Super Saiyan God form. Also, Emperor Pilaf and them would have noticed the effects the ritual had on the sky and the ocean, so they start to go back to the cruise ship out of curiosity, which, now that Gine is in this form, everyone notices that they can't sense her ki anymore, which is when Whis explains that only gods can. When the fight begins, since she is inexperienced with this form, she can't even land a hit at first. Even when she tries to use the Maiden Blast, it misses and goes through the sea, shaking the ship violently. Though in the meantime, when Emperor Pilaf, Mai, and Shu reach the ship, Whis finds them and invites them to go eat with him. As Gine and Beerus continue to fight, she eventually pushes his energy spear up and away, accidentally knocking Bulma's ship into the water. Though, after they fight a little bit longer, both agree that it was enough of a warm-up and that they'll stop holding back. Beerus eventually makes another Spear of Destruction, but larger this time, so Gine must squeeze and compress it to get rid of it. Though, as Old Kai and Kibito Kai watch the fight, Old Kai notices that Beerus is still holding back. Beerus eventually sends Gine crashing down into an island like a meteor, before eventually knocking her up into the stratosphere. Beerus then sends a blast that would have destroyed the Earth, so Gine must resort to using a blast of her own to dissipate them. Beerus then ends up injuring her, and as she falls into the sea, she still gets motivated to fight again, which, as she is healed, she rises to fight Beerus again. She says she is going to use her full power, so Beerus says he'll do the same as well. Meanwhile, as Vegeta observes the fight by staring up into space, Whis offers him to view it through his staff, but the Saiyan Prince refuses. As the two deities continue the fight, their punches are causing shockwaves throughout the universe, which Old Kai explains that after 2 or 3 more of these, the universe will be destroyed. These shockwaves also affect Bulma's ship, sending it plummeting down, but Whis stops it from hitting Hercule with his staff. Anyway, back with the fight. As their third clash is about to happen, Gine started counteracting his hits exactly, so that no more shockwaves were created. While their fight continues, with him basically ending in a beam struggle, Hercule tries to bribe Whis to use his magic to stop this. Though, when it does eventually stop, and as Hercule receives a phone call from his manager, he claims to have saved the world once again and to set up a press conference. Back with Beerus and Gine's fight, they both say they're finally using their full power as they continue the clash, though Gine reverts to her Super Saiyan form and doesn't even recognize it at first. So, they realize that she has somehow retained the God power, but they continue their battle nonetheless. As their fight drags on, Beerus eventually tries to get the upper hand as he pushes Gine down towards the earth. Though, she briefly gets a second wind and brings them back up into space. However, she falls back to her base form shortly after, and Beerus compliments her, saying she is the second strongest person she fought with the first being his martial arts master and attendant, Whis. However, as Gine starts to fall back to the earth, she doesn't want it all to end in vain and gets enough of a power boost to go Super Saiyan again. They eventually have a beam struggle, and even though she was able to nullify a Spear of Destruction again, this uses the last of her power as she falls to her base form once and for all. As she falls back down, Goku ends up catching her as she lands on the ship, though Beerus lands down behind them shortly after and still says he plans to destroy the Earth, which he then charges up a blast and destroys a small rock on a nearby island, saying that he was out of stamina but did keep his promise of destroying the Earth. Whis offers Gine to become the next destroyer, but I'm not so sure she would take this offer. Regardless, Beerus eventually apologizes to Bulma for hitting her, so she then invites him to their next party, promising to have plenty of pudding there. Regardless, Beerus and Whis take off, and on the way back to his planet, Beerus reveals he lied about using 100% of his power so that Gine would draw out all of hers. Back on Earth, Gine and everyone sits down to have a meal after that fight had ended, though even though Videl didn't have to announce it, she still sees this as a good time to formally announce that she is pregnant. As Vegeta vows to be the next Super Saiyan God, this might cause a little moment of bickering between the two, as Goku would want to be the next one. Though, Goku still mocks Vegeta's "that's my Bulma" moment, which is when they realize he was watching the whole thing, as he reveals he was trying to come up with a strategy, but he had nothing. Later, Hercule still has a press conference and tells his made-up story about defeating Beavis, though soon after, the Snackians arrive and explain they came to greet the person that defeated the God of Destruction. However, Galbi protests and tries to spar with Hercule, who then spots Goku and tries to get his help. He eventually must pretend to hit Goku since Chi-Chi was nearby, which leaves him to face Galbi, though he still spots B and the Snackians flee, as Hercule is then presented the hero's medal. Then, back at Goku's house, we see that Goku is too scared to go inside since Chi-Chi planned to punish him. This time, after the battle between the gods ended, Goku is made by Chi-Chi to go back to tending the field. While out there, Krillin comes to talk with him and asks Goku to punch him, though this ends up with Android 18 having to treat the bruise left behind from this. During this time, Goku would be trying to think about how he could get the God power, while Vegeta and Raditz would be off thinking about the same thing. Meanwhile, Bulma and Tights would have been taking Whis to different restaurants to bribe him to save them if Beerus ever tried to destroy the Earth again. When Vegeta and Raditz return, they try to get Whis to train them by offering the tastiest food on Earth in return. However, all the restaurants the two Saiyans can think of, Bulma and Tights already took them there. Then, after failing to cook something of their own, they end up making instant ramen for Whis. So, the Angel then relents after trying it and agrees to train the two Saiyans. Over half of a year later, Gohan and Videl's daughter Pan has been born. While Hercule and Gohan were playing / roughhousing with her, Chi-Chi and Gine show up. Chi-Chi scolds them for roughhousing with her, but Gohan says she can handle it since she is part Saiyan, and Gine agrees with him as well. However, instead of Chi-Chi not budging on her position that Pan shouldn't fight, Gine would be a good example of a girl being able to fight and not being a battle-loving idiot like Goku. Meanwhile, Bulma is still eventually pulled over by a cop, which turns out to be Krillin, for trying to chase after the robbers. Though even Chi-Chi relented, she would still be mad about how they were playing with her. Regardless, Bulma and Krillin are asked over to help calm Chi-Chi down, and Goten and Goku show up too. After she is calmed down and Goku learns about Vegeta and Raditz training with Whis, he decides to go and ask to train too. He also convinces Gine to come along too, so that she could spend time with him and Raditz, along with helping them achieve the God form while training. Though as Goku pesters Whis about the training, Gine scolds him for this and tells him to be patient. Regardless, Whis eventually goes to leave, and he takes Goku and Gine along with him. Once they arrive, Whis orders Vegeta and Raditz to take Goku and Gine with them to show them the chores they must do before they can train. The first thing they must do is to change Beerus' bed sheets without waking him up. After that, they must do things like scrub tree branches, clean the Oracle Fish's fish bowls, and to cut the grassy lawn. From there, Whis gives them new outfits for training, then gives them weights to lift. While lifting these weights, they must outrun the disappearing road behind them. Meanwhile, since the Saiyans are sleeping, Whis and the Oracle Fish discuss their training, where Whis explains to them that training in their base form would be best, and that they realize this since they haven't gone Super Saiyan yet. The next day the training is changed up to the point that they are ordered to fight with Whis, but he dodges every attack. Whis then points out to them that they think too much and need to master independent bodily reactions. In the meantime, out in space, on a Frieza Force ship, Sorbet handles a rebellion on Frieza Planet 448, while also discussing with Takuma and Shishami the plan to resurrect Frieza. Though the ship is eventually stopped by an unknown force, it turns out to be Champa and Vados destroying the planet, before declaring it wasn't the right planet. Which at this time, Frieza is in a cocoon down at Earth's Hell being tormented by the Angels of Hell and stuffed animals. Back with Sorbet, since he can't find out where the Namekians are, he decides to go to Earth to resurrect Frieza, though he is warned that the ones that killed Frieza live there. Then back on Beerus' planet, during the training with Whis, he draws his signature on his clothes. He then goes on to give each of them some advice. He tells Vegeta that he is wound up too tight, and that Goku is too relaxed. He also tells Raditz that while cautious can be good, he is too cautious, and he tells Gine that while her peaceful nature isn't bad, it can be a hindrance too. Then while Piccolo is babysitting Pan, he notices an evil energy as Sorbet and Toguma head for Earth. They still run into the Pilaf gang since they had gathered all the Dragon Balls. When they try to revive Frieza, Shenron refused to at first since he would be revived in pieces. Though Toguma explains that with their machinery, they would be able to make him intact again. Shenron tells them that they have 2 more wishes. However, this time, they succeed at being able to revive King Cold with their second wish, though the third wish is still wasted by the Pilaf gang for the world's best ice cream. Sorbet and Toguma then take what's left of King Cold and Frieza back to the ship, and have them completely restored. Since Frieza and King Cold didn't remember their henchmen, Sorbet and Toguma had to reintroduce themselves. Then after the 2 tyrants described their time in Hell and how it was torturous for them, Frieza then decides to declare revenge on the Saiyans, but when the henchmen try to warn him, death beams were shot at them as he mocks them. Though they then reveal the Saiyans defeated Majin Buu, so Frieza decides that after training for 4 months, he will be able to surpass the Saiyans living on Earth. During this time, while the Saiyans were training, Whis gives the advice about keeping their ki inside, which, after taking this advice and after clashing blows, there's a flash of a blue aura from all the Saiyans. 4 months later, Jacko arrives on Earth and asks Bulma if she knew the ones that defeated Frieza. She reveals she does, but tells them they are all on Beerus' planet currently. Jacko then warns her about Frieza and his army coming to Earth, so she tries to contact Whis with the bribe of a strawberry sundae to get the Saiyans to come back to Earth. Since this doesn't work, she contacts the other Z-Fighters. When Krillin gets the call, he has Android 18 cut his hair and bring him his gi, then he goes and gets Master Roshi. They then go to get Sensu Beans as well, and after heading to confront the Frieza Force, they run into Tien, Gohan, and Piccolo as well. While the army lands, Tien discusses that he didn't bring Shatsu because it would have been too dangerous. Gohan then mentions he had the Saiyan children stay behind because he thought they would have done something reckless. Krillin was also looking for Buu to show up, but Gohan says he's asleep. Then when Master Roshi asks if Gohan was still training, I believe he would have been, since he never fell behind after the Cell Saga, since Goku was still alive to encourage him to train. Though, he might have slowed down a little bit because of Pan being born, but he didn't completely stop. Jacko and Bulma then arrive, and she forces Jacko to fight alongside the heroes. Once Sorbet, Frieza, and King Cold arrive, Sorbet orders the soldiers to fight the Z-Fighters. Though it doesn't take long for Frieza to recognize Gohan, but eventually when he notices Krillin not fighting, he offers a planet to any soldier that can kill Krillin. Meanwhile, Beerus has Whis put the Saiyans inside his staff so they can train without interrupting him eating his pizza. After they take out the soldiers, Shisame is ordered to attack them, and he starts with Gohan. However, when Gohan is grabbed, Toguma still shoots a blast through them, killing Shisame and almost killing Gohan, until Piccolo heals him and he's given a Sensu Bean by Krillin. It is still revealed that Toguma was basically used as a punching bag, though he would be stronger too since King Cold was around. Regardless, when he powers up, the Saiyan children go to see who it is while Ginyu in the frog body appears out of Jacko's ship. Piccolo steps up first to face Toguma, but his attacks unfazed him, so he eventually rips off his arm and pummels him. until Gohan comes to his aid. Then Gotenks and Kimi fly in, with Gotenks hitting him in the crotch, which Gotenks then challenges Frieza to a fight, but the fusion's diffused. Though as Frieza demands Togama to get up, Ginyu still tricks him to say, "Change now," thus causing them to exchange bodies, which he then approaches Frieza and explains everything that has happened and how he was waiting for Frieza to return. Ginyu then goes to the Z Fighters and attacks Tien, then Master Roshi, Piccolo, Krillin, and finally Gohan. Meanwhile, inside Whis' staff, they realize it was supposed to help them keep the key in their bodies, and that it reminds them of the hyperbolic time chamber. Back on the Earth in the fight with Ginyu, since Gohan didn't completely fall behind on training, he isn't getting completely beat in his first form, though he still does go Super Saiyan, and once he tries to spare Ginyu, this angers Frieza. So, Frieza fires death beams into Gohan, basically leaving him in the dust. However, Piccolo jumps in and takes the last death beam for him, which Goten and Trunks reveal that Piccolo's ki can no longer be felt, thus meaning he died, so this angers Frieza. Gohan takes this harder than everyone else, which Frieza just laughs as this is what he wanted. Meanwhile, Whis takes the Saiyans out of the staff so that he can get more pizza for beers like he requested. Whis eventually sees the message from Bulma along with the sundae, so he passes on the message to the Saiyans. So, Gine then uses the instant transmission to take them back to the Earth, which, back on Earth, Gohan lost all of his power, and as Frieza went to kill him, Goku arrived and knocked the blast out of the way, which Frieza is excited to see Gine again, along with the other heroes being excited to see them as well. Gine then teleports Piccolo's body up to the lookout so that the Saiyan children can explain to Dende what happened. Ginyu tries to intervene, but Vegeta easily takes him down, which Frieza comments that he'll take Vegeta down after Gine. Regardless, both Frieza and King Cold transform into their final forms. We don't know what forms King Cold had, but I always personally believed he had access to the 5th form like Cooler does. Anyway, Gine would be the one facing Frieza, and as for King Cold, Goku would probably be the one to face him, since he was excited about fighting someone that strong, which, they both expected the Saiyans to turn into a Super Saiyan, but they claim they won't need this form. While the fight between them starts, the Saiyan children are sent up to the lookout so they can tell Dende about everything. Regardless, after their power struggle, Frieza tries to blast one of the onlookers to anger Gine, but is easily swatted aside. King Cold's fight with Goku would be going like this, as he would be going blow for blow with Goku. However, since none of them use their full power, Vegeta comes in and interrupts the fight since them not going all out angered him. Vegeta then mockingly applauds Frieza and King Cold for being resurrected, which ends up angering the tyrants, but they decide to reveal their true power to each other. So, both Gine and Goku turn to their Super Saiyan Blue forms, then they welcome the tyrants to show off their newfound power as well. Frieza and King Cold wonders if that meant the Saiyans became deities, which they say they are close to one. Meanwhile, Jaco tries to take pictures so that the Galactic Patrol will destroy the Earth, so Bulma and Tights destroy his cameras. Anyway, back with the fight. Frieza tries to attack Gine first to see if it was even worth transforming or not. So, both he and King Cold then show off their golden forms, with them both claiming they could kill the Saiyans in an instant with this power. As the four start to fight each other, Whis contacts Bulma and says that he and Beerus will be there in 4 minutes and 13 seconds, though they stop because they find Champa and Vados, but after talking for a short time, they go back to heading towards Earth. Back on Earth, the Saiyans and the Tyrants were having a beam struggle, so they go back to attacking each other normally right after. However, Whis and Beerus show up and demand the parfait right away, so they start to eat it instead of watching the fight. Whis then notices that they are having a hard time fighting the Tyrants, and as they say they'll kill everyone, the two eventually see Beerus there. They were worried Beerus was there to erase them, but he continuously reassures them he isn't, but says if they keep asking, he would destroy them. Then once the Saiyans were vulnerable, King Cold and Frieza start to attack them again, basically beating them into the ground. King Cold and Frieza start gloating as the fight starts going in their favor, but Beerus and Whis reveal the Saiyans could win if they worked together. Bulma and Tights try to convince their husbands to join the fights, but it's to no avail. After eventually incapacitating Gine, Frieza goes on to talk about how he would have been conquering the universe right now if it wasn't for her. Though, the two Tyrants then try to land the finishing blow on the Saiyans, but it fails, as they realize they accidentally held back. However, shortly after this, Goku and Gine realize the weakness their golden forms have, so they try to spare them, but they refuse since they still think they are winning. So, as the fight starts again, it seems like the Saiyans are basically stalling for time and waiting for something to happen. Eventually, with them having seemingly won, they drop out of Super Saiyan Blue. The sorbet shoots both Goku and Gine once he realizes their guard is down. As Frieza and King Cold went to finish them off, Vegeta and Raditz intervene in the fight. As Krillin went to heal them with the sensu beans, they try to kill them with the death beams, but Raditz and Vegeta deflect these blasts. Vegeta would be pummeling Frieza while Raditz beats down King Cold, eventually causing them to drop down into their final forms. However, when they go to finish off the tyrants, they try to blow up the Earth out of desperation, which Whis protects the people standing around them. Whis eventually rewinds time for them, as Gine kills Frieza and Goku kills King Cold. They then explain to Vegeta and Raditz why they had stolen their glory of getting to finish off the tyrants. Beerus says this wasn't fitting of him to save the planet, since he is the god of destruction. Anyway, Gine goes to New Namek and wishes for Piccolo to be revived. Then they go to a party to celebrate the galactic tyrants being defeated. While there, since Gohan felt remorse about not being able to save Pan and Videl, he asked Piccolo to help train him. Even though he did keep up on his training somewhat, he doesn't get to as much as he used to, so he figured this would be useful for him to go through. Which then shows Frieza back in Hell, as the Angels of Hell welcome him back home. As the Saiyans are training on Beerus' planet again, Champa and Vados are on their way there. Once they violently land, this wakes up Beerus, but he thinks it was the Saiyans that woke him up, so he attacks them. Though as Champa approaches Beerus' castle, he is nearly attacked by Beerus. Regardless, the Twin God of Destruction start to bicker, and Champa explains to the Saiyans that he's the God of Destruction from Universe 6. Which, since they didn't know about the other universes, Whis explains that there are 12 universes. Beerus and Champa still have their little contest of which their universes has the tastiest food, which causes Beerus to tell them about Earth. Champa challenges Beerus to a fight, but so they don't destroy the universes, the two angels stop them. However, Champa suggests a 5-on-5 tournament where the winner gets the Earth, explaining that the Super Dragon Balls can switch the Earth to their universe. So, after Beerus asks the 4 Saiyans if they'd compete, and they say they would, he agrees to the tournament. They decide the tournament should be held on the nameless planet, since it is in the neutral space between the two universes. Regardless, they still decide on the same rules, where if someone is knocked out of the ring they are out, if they surrender they lose, killing isn't allowed, enhancements and weapons aren't allowed, and Vegeta suggests the fighter must pass a test to participate. They agree and set the date for the tournament in 5 days, then Champa and Vados leave. From here, they go back to Earth and inform Bulma of the tournament, along with asking her to make a radar to find the Super Dragon Balls. Though, they come up with the idea for asking Shenron where the last Super Dragon Ball is, so Vegeta goes looking for the Earth's Dragon Balls. Meanwhile, on the nameless planet, Champa has Vados give the planet an atmosphere, along with making the arena. Regardless, on Earth, when they summon Shenron, he reveals it is beyond his power to find it, so Bulma goes with the original idea of making a radar. As Beerus and Whis got ready to leave to go get Monaka, Goku asks who this is, so Beerus says he's the strongest person he fought, with Gine being the second strongest. Anyway, next day, Bulma finishes the radar and calls her sister, Tights, to see if she can help her get in contact with Jocko. Though when they do get in contact, Jocko initially refuses until she threatens him with Vegeta destroying the Galactic Patrol headquarters if he doesn't help, so he agrees. Eventually, Krillin meets up with the Saiyans because he thought they were going on a picnic in space, because this is a cover-up story Goku told Chi-Chi, who then told Android 18, who then told Krillin. However, since there are 4 of the Saiyans, they don't have to find other team members, so they don't bother considering Gohan, Buu, and Piccolo. So, their team for the tournament would be Goku, Vegeta, Gine, Raditz, and Monaka. Then when Beerus and Whis head off to get Monaka, Goku suggests they go in the hyperbolic time chamber to train for 3 days/3 years. Anyway, as Beerus gets close to Monaka's location, Whis asks if this is a good idea, and Beerus says he'll handle it. Regardless, while Jocko is on his way to Earth, he is told a Diamond Dasher named Gefu Man is in the area. Out of frustration, he fires the guns on his ship at an asteroid, but accidentally destroys a national monument, though he blames it on Gefu Man. Once on Earth, he is tricked into helping Bulma, so he advises her to go and see Zuno, since he might know about the Super Dragon Balls. Jocko and Bulma then go to Zuno's planet, which they are told there is an opening to see Zuno for 7 years, so, when leaving, they run into Gefu Man and Jocko apprehends him, thus allowing them to see Zuno. Bulma accidentally wastes 2 of her questions, but regardless, Zuno does tell her about the Super Dragon Balls. Back on Earth, Bulma shares the information that Champa has been coming to Universe 7 to take the Dragon Balls, as Jocko heads back to the Galactic Patrol headquarters. While Vegeta, Raditz, Goku, and Gine are training in the hyperbolic time chamber, Whis arrives at Castle Corp to take everyone to the nameless planet. Though, he wonders where the Saiyans are, so Bulma explains that they are training. Jocko and the Galactic King eventually arrive, before the Saiyans eventually show up. Though, Bulma makes them go shower before they leave, and once they return they go to Beerus' planet first. They were only going there to get Beerus and Monaka, but once there, Goku spots Monaka, and despite his appearance, he believes they need to be on guard. Though before they leave, Goku does punch him out of nowhere, thinking that he would dodge it, causing Monaka to tear up. After he apologizes, They then head off towards the nameless planet by using Whis' cube. Once they arrive, Raditz was going to show the guests to their seats, but Beerus says Whis make new ones since the old ones look uncomfortable. Then as the Universe 7 fighters go on to take the test, Shin and Kibito show up, revealing they wanted to defuse. Though the Universe 6 Supreme Kai Fuwa gets confused by seeing them be so friendly with the universe's gods, but old Kai just tells them it's a long story. Anyway, the Saiyans end up seeing Kaba, which is when they find out the differences between their universe, mainly the lack of tails in that planet Sadala still exists in Universe 6. Without Boo there, everyone passes the test, and the fighters from Universe 7, minus Monaka, play rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first, which ends up with Goku being the first one. The first match is between Batamo and Goku, which as it begins, Batamo bounces around and lands a strong blow on Goku, though Goku claims he ate too much before the match, and starts to exercise to digest his food. Regardless, when Goku eventually tries to fire a Kamehameha at the Yellow Bear, it proves to be ineffective, which Jocko points out that any damage Goku is causing is being nullified. So, as the fight continues, Goku is eventually pushed back, but he eventually grabs his legs and forces the bear to fall. As he tries to get back up and attack him, Goku grabs his arm and throws him out of the ring, leaving him the winner by ring out. After this match, Champa claims Goku is a cheater, but Vlados tells him to calm down, since they have 4 more fighters. Anyway, the next match is between Frost and Goku, with everyone ending up surprised at how nice Universe 6's Frieza seems to be. At first, Frost throws Goku off balance with his speed, but eventually Goku tells him to transform, since he knows his tricks about transforming bit by bit. As Frost transforms into his second form, this surprises Champa but frustrates Vegeta, since he is still hiding his final form. Anyway, they seem to be evenly matched in the fight, so Goku turns into a Super Saiyan, and Frost turns into his final form. Champa asks Kaba if all Saiyans can do this, and he says he doesn't know anything about it. Frost is completely outclassed at first, but suddenly Goku starts to feel tired, so Frost knocks him out of the ring, leaving Frost as the winner of the second match. Both Chi-Chi and Gine would fly up to check on Goku, as they were worried that he might have died. Regardless, Frost comes over and congratulates Goku on giving him a fun match. Beerus was still angry with Goku for holding back and losing, but the next match between Raditz and Frost is called. Since Frost was weakened by Goku, Raditz would be completely dominating him in this fight, especially when he goes Super Saiyan, though Frost would still be able to get in a couple hits, which after a while Raditz would start getting dizzy. Frost eventually blasts him, leaving him unable to move, so he is declared the winner. However, Jocko calls out Frost for cheating, and when the referee checks Frost's arm, he finds the poison needle. So, Frost is disqualified and Raditz is the winner. However, Raditz can't heal himself like Piccolo could, so Raditz must forfeit. This is when Frost was revealed to be a space pirate instead of a hero. Anyway, Champa was angered by Frost cheating, but before he could erase him, Vegeta convinces them to let Frost back in, as he wants to beat Frost down. As Vegeta and Frost are about to fight, Vegeta gets him to lift the rules about killing and the use of weapons for this match after Beerus and Champa allow the change. Anyway, Vegeta turns into a Super Saiyan, and as Frost charges at him, he knocks him out of the barrier with one hit, which Vlados repairs. Beerus then looks to see if there was a wound on Goku from the poison needle, which there was, so he's reinstated into the tournament. Goku mentions wanting to fight Monaka, but Whis reveals he is unconscious, and when Goku tries to talk to him, Beerus says he is dangerous if disturbed while meditating. For the next fight, the barrier was recreated, and a new rule was instated, that if someone touches the barrier they are disqualified. Meanwhile, Frost sneaks off and finds the cube with all the riches in it. However, Hit finds him and easily stops Frost from taking it with a mysterious technique. Anyway, the next fight is between Vegeta and Automagetta, who grabs his lava before entering the ring. As Fuwa explains, Automagetta is a metal man, he can withstand Vegeta's attacks, while also getting faster and stronger from them. The robot eventually starts to use his magma spit, though Vegeta must resort to transforming into a Super Saiyan when he gets caught in the smoke. Though, throughout all of this, Automagetta is making it hotter within the barrier. Vegeta starts feeling disoriented from the heat Automagetta is putting out, which is when Goku gives the advice about going down to the floor since the oxygen is running out within the barrier. Vegeta just ignores his advice as Magetta shoots out water vapor then uses his lava spit to make a vapor explosion, knocking Vegeta back in the process. Vegeta just barely saves himself, then uses the Gallic Gun, but Magetta counteracts this with the lava spit, though it eventually hardens, so he uses the hardened lava as a club to hit Vegeta with. Vegeta is almost thrown out of the ring, but he is saved by landing on a piece of the broken ring. Vegeta then eventually powers up further, which causes the barrier to shatter in the process, allowing him to breathe again. He also starts to charge Final Flash, which overpowers Automagetta's lava spit. When it hits him, This stuns the robot, allowing Vegeta to punch him at his full strength. Though, as he calls him a piece of metal junk, Vegeta is knocked to the edge of the stage, which breaks so he falls out, making Vegeta the winner. As Vados repairs the arena, Vegeta goes and gets water from Whis. Whis also points out Vegeta crying and reveals that the Metal Man will lose the will to fight if they are insulted. While Vados and Whis prepare the ring, Trunks comes up to Vegeta and tells him to defeat all the remaining opponents, which he says he plans to. Regardless, after the ring is repaired and made bigger, Beerus gets rid of the barrier and out of bounds rules, which next match is between Vegeta and Kaba, and as they make their way to the ring, Fuwa says the Universe 6 Saiyans followed a different path, being known as the Heroes of Justice. Kaba introduces himself politely and Vegeta tells him not to hold back, which Vegeta is surprised when Kaba uses a technique like his Gallic Gun. Anyway, they are evenly matched, so Vegeta tells him to get serious and turns into a Super Saiyan. When Kaba asks Vegeta to teach him, this angers the prince, who turns into a Super Saiyan, and he unleashes an assault on them. Then when Kaba tries to surrender, Vegeta threatens to kill him and destroy Planet Vegeta, along with killing everyone he cares about. Kaba then transforms into a Super Saiyan and unleashes an assault of his own. However, Vegeta ends up unscathed and tells him not to forget that feeling, which is when Kaba realizes Vegeta acted like that to get him to transform. Regardless, Vegeta then transforms into a Super Saiyan Blue, which catches Hit's attention. After telling Kaba that with training he can reach his form, he punches him in the gut, saying not to forget that pain, which Kaba then falls unconscious, making Vegeta the winner. Vegeta then uses a vase of water to wake Kaba, which is when he thanks Vegeta for the training. Vegeta tells him not to forget his Saiyan pride, then when Kaba mentions the King of Sadala being like Vegeta, he says he wants to meet him someday. The next match between Hit and Vegeta is announced, while Champa and Vados talk about Hit being a legendary assassin. They also mention Hit wanted the cube if Universe 6 won this tournament. Once the match between Vegeta and Hit starts, he notices that he doesn't have any openings, then is impressed at his speed. Though he is eventually hit with hard blows, knocking him back, as he mentions he couldn't see his attacks at all for a split second. Even when Vegeta tries to go on the defensive, this fails and all of Hit's attacks land successfully. On the sidelines, Goku asks the other Saiyans and Jocko if they could see any of his attacks, which they say they couldn't. Anyway, Hit starts attacking him with harder blows, eventually knocking him down to his base form. Since Vegeta didn't even have the strength to surrender, Hit is announced the winner, but he praises Vegeta for being able to survive his attacks. Though the Galactic King still starts to piece together that Hit is using the time skip, which he tells Jocko and Jocko passes this on to the remaining Saiyans. Beerus wanted Whis to reveal how to counter this technique to the Saiyans, but he refuses, saying that it will be good training that they always have Monaka if they lose. Raditz is up next against Hit, and he would fare a little better than Vegeta, since he would start predicting where Hit was going to attack from. Though, Hit can extend his time skip to a fifth of a second, then half a second, so even as a Super Saiyan Blue, Raditz would be defeated. Then next would be Gine's fight against Hit, which he would have been observing the last two fights and would try a similar strategy to what Raditz did. Even though she is slightly stronger than the other Saiyans, she would still be defeated, with her having used Super Saiyan Blue as well. This leaves the next match being between Goku and Hit, with Goku blocking his attacks and counteracting, since he predicted where he was going to attack from. Once he transforms to Super Saiyan Blue, he would be winning until Hit increases his time skip to 1/5 of a second, then 1/2 of a second. However, instead of Goku staying down at this point like the other Saiyans, he reveals he has been trying a technique to use on Beerus that they didn't know about. Goku then uses the Kaioken on top of Super Saiyan Blue, which him surpassing Hit again angers him. Though shortly after he uses the Kaioken times 10, and since he can't use this form for long, he tries using the Kamehameha against Hit, but he then time skips through it. However, Hit eventually begins to overcome his attacks as his time skip improves. Since the Gods of Destruction wouldn't remove the rules that would allow Hit to fight all out, and since Goku wanted to see Monaka fight, he jumps out of the ring, forfeiting the match. In the match between Monaka and Hit, it doesn't take long for Hit to realize Monaka is incredibly weak. He still pretends he was defeated in one hit from Monaka and goes flying out of the ring, making Monaka the winner. Goku then goes on to thank the Galactic King for telling him about the time skip, but before Champa can destroy the Universe 6 team, Zeno arrives. Zeno originally wanted to tell off Beerus and Champa, but he reveals he enjoyed watching the tournament, so he wants to set up one between all 12 universes. Regardless, Goku approaches Zeno and talks to him in a disrespectful manner, which worries everyone else, but Zeno enjoyed this. He then leaves as the heroes go on to summon Super Shenron, with Beerus secretly wishing for Universe 6's Earth to be back. Vados notices this right away and informs Champa, while Whis then takes Beerus and Monaka back to Beerus' planet, before taking the heroes to Earth. Beerus then still wards Monaka with treasure for motivating the Saiyans, which, Goku, Vegeta, Raditz, and Gine finally arrive home, much to Goku's delight. This time, since I see the Coffee Vegeta saga as filler, I'm skipping it. Anyway, in the future, Trunks and Goten are running and hiding from a mysterious being causing destruction. As Trunks gets ready to go to the past again, the mysterious being arrives and grabs Bulma. As he and Goten just barely escape, the mysterious being unfortunately kills Bulma. Meanwhile, in the present, Vegeta and Raditz were training on Beerus' planet, so Goku and Gine go there as well. Anyway, back in the future, Trunks goes and meets up with Mai, but as he gets ready to go to the past, the mysterious being arrives and seemingly kills Goten and Mai, who are trying to act as a decoy. Future Trunks goes back to Capsule Corporation since it is still intact, but he ends up getting in a fight with Gine Black. However, he uses the Masenko to create a distraction for him to get to the time machine. Though Gine Black eventually spots him and tries to kill him with the Black Kamehameha, but Trunks escapes just in the nick of time. When he arrives in the present, Trunks and the other children find him, so Bulma takes him to a bedroom. She eventually gets in contact with the Saiyans via Whis, so they teleport back to the Earth. Gine then goes and gets sensor beams from Korin, then comes back and gives one to future Trunks. As he wakes up, he mistakes Gine for Black and attacks her, which surprises her, but she blocks the attack. Trunks eventually regains his composure, and they explain why Gine is still alive, since he was confused about it. In the future, Gine Black was angered that Trunks escaped, so she starts to cause more havoc, until she notices her time ring reacting. Anyway, in the present, as they discuss everything, Beerus threatens destroying Bulma for creating a time machine, as messing with time isn't allowed, but Bulma bribes him not to with fish sausage. Anyway, Trunks goes on to explain what happened in his future. When he talks about Majin Buu, unfortunately some of the losses that happened in that battle were Kami and Kemi, while Trunks and Goten were training with Shin. He then explains who Gine Black is, so the Saiyans say they will go to the future and help him. However, a portal opens and Gine Black arrives, much to their surprise. Gine Black realizes that Trunks traveled through time, though as Trunks tries to fight her, Vegeta stops him since he can't win. Gine then challenges Gine Black to a fight, which she turns to a Super Saiyan 2 to fight Black. Though as the fight drags on, the time portal starts to correct itself, thus dragging her back to the future. But before she disappears, she destroys the time machine with a ki blast. In the future, Gine Black was happy she got to embed the power and fighting style of Gine within herself, which since Trunks is trapped in the past, she goes back to killing people on the Earth. Back in the present, while they try to figure out how to fix the time machine, Whis explains that Gine Black had a time ring, which only a Supreme Kai can use. Bulma then comes back with a capsule containing the time machine Cell used. While in the future, it is revealed Mai just barely survived, but Goten unfortunately was killed since he took the brunt of the attack to protect Mai. After Bulma explains where she got the time machine from, she goes to work on repairing it. Goku and Gine then go to train on King Kai's planet, while Vegeta and Raditz train in the gravity machine. Dr. Brief ends up returning and helps Bulma repair the time machine, while future Trunks explains to them how he knew Mai in the future. He still tells the story of Gine Black appearing in the resistance that formed, with it being led by Trunks, Goten, and Mai. Meanwhile, as Goku and Gine return, Beerus and Whis mention Gine Black's ki being familiar, so they decide to investigate. While the repairs continue, Trunks goes and talks with Piccolo and Krillin, mainly asking about Gohan. Piccolo explains that their Gohan doesn't fight as much anymore, while future Trunks explains his Gohan was his teacher, along with Gine before they died. Trunks then goes and meets Gohan at his work, before getting ice cream together then going back to Gohan's house. Future Trunks is then introduced to the Videl, Mr. Satan, and Pan, before being invited to stay for dinner. Trunks' time with them inspired him to find what he is fighting for, then as he returns, he finds Goku and Gine were gone. Krillin explains that he and Gine went to Universe 10 with Beerus and Whis, as there is someone there that has the same ki as Gine Black. While they head to the Sacred World of the Kai in Universe 10, Whis explains who their Supreme Kai, Guasu, is, along with who his apprentice, Zamasu, is, which Zamasu has a conversation with Guasu about wanting to destroy the humans, but Guasu informs him they can't interfere with destruction. When they arrive with Goku and Gine, Zamasu tries to attack them since he doesn't want mortals there, but Guasu stops him. Anyway, they catch Guasu up to speed on Gine Black and ask to see the time rings. Eventually though, Gine ends up in a sparring match with Zamasu, with Guasu saying it will be part of Zamasu's training. Meanwhile on Earth, Trunks talks to Krillin and his family, finding out Android 18 is his wife. Back with the fight, Gine was easily winning as a Super Saiyan 2, so she ends the fight quickly. As they leave, Whis mentions that Zamasu was suppressing his cold heart and is indeed Gine Black, which, as Guasu asks Zamasu if he got over his distrust of mortals, He says he'll never forget Gine. While Bulma almost finishes the time machine, Whis returns to Earth with the others. After Whis fills everyone in on Zamasu potentially not being Gine Black, Vegeta goes to test future Trunks' power. Meanwhile, Guazu shows Zamasu the Barbarians, which their barbaric nature disgusts him, so he suggests wiping them out. They then use the time ring to go 1,000 years into the future, but even though they started to civilize, they were still barbaric, thus fueling Zamasu's resolve to destroy the mortals. Vegeta tests Trunks' power and shows off Super Saiyan Blue, but he was disappointed since Trunks only tries to get stronger when enemies are present. Anyway, on Beerus' planet, Zeno contacts Beerus and Whis, saying he wants to see Goku. So, Gine teleports Goku to Beerus' planet, which is when he is told Zeno wants to see him. Meanwhile, Bulma finishes preparing the time machine, so they begin to charge it. Anyway, Gine then teleports Whis and Goku to the sacred world of the Kai. Then in Universe 10, one of the barbarians tries to attack Zamasu, and despite Gawasu's protests, he kills it. So Gawasu berates him once they return to Universe 10's sacred world of the Kai. Regardless, Shin teleports into Zeno's palace, which after talking to the Grand Minister, he leads him to the Zenos. Zeno just wanted a friend, which leads to Goku naming Zeno Zenny. Anyway, since Goku couldn't play currently, and he promised you later, Zeno gives him the button to summon him. They then return to the Earth and go to their future, where Gine is attacked by the Resistance, since they thought she was Gine Black. After Trunks stops him from attacking, he introduces Goku and the others to the Resistance. Trunks is then reunited with Mai in the subway station, relieved that she is alive, but is saddened to hear Goten didn't survive. After giving them the castles full of food and other things, Goku spots future Yajirobe, who then explains how he survived. They then play rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to fight Gine Black, and Vegeta wins. So, as they confront Gine Black, Vegeta goes Super Saiyan Blue, though his attacks aren't doing much to her. Gine Black then shows off Super Saiyan Rose, then defeats Vegeta by stabbing him with an energy blade. As she starts to fight with Gine, and tries to finish her off, they are interrupted by future Zamasu and Goku Black arriving. Zamasu originally had trouble deciding between taking Gine's body or Goku's body, so they recruited a Zamasu from another timeline that had taken Goku's body instead. Gine starts to fight with Zamasu, while Goku fights with Goku Black, though eventually Gine Black jumps in, teaming up on Gine. However, Trunks and Raditz then interrupt the fight, with Trunks and Goku fighting Goku Black, while Gine and Raditz fight Gine Black. Zamasu eventually reveals he is immortal since he would have been healing from their attacks. Zamasu also eventually ends up holding the Saiyans and places Gine Black and Goku Black blast them, defeating them. Before they could finish them off, Vegeta distracts him with a God Final Flash, though he collapses afterwards, and they realize the other Saiyans escape, as future Yajirobe saved them, with future Mai saving Vegeta. While they return to the present, in Universe 10 Zamasu sees the fight of Gine and Hit, wondering how they could get God Ki, so he then asks about the Super Dragon Balls, so Gawasu explains everything about them. Zamasu then goes to Zuno's planet, threatening him to tell him everything about the Super Dragon Balls. Zamasu also forces Zuno to tell him about Gine, so he complies and tells him everything he wanted to know. Back on Earth, the Saiyans are given sensory beams shortly after they return to the past. Beerus, Whis, and Shin then arrive, explaining what happened with Zuno, since Zuno contacted Shin. Vegeta then explains what they had seen in the future was Zamasu and his immortality, so their current theory now is that Zamasu wished to be made into Goku Black, along with him killing Gawasu to get the time rings. Beerus, Whis, Shin, Gine, and Goku then go to Universe 10 again, explaining everything about future Zamasu and questioning him about this timeline's Zamasu and his behavior. When Zamasu questions why they were there, they claim Gine was wanting to fight him again. Even though Zamasu accepts the fight, they say they must leave and go outside the universe. They then say that Zamasu does have murderous intent, so they keep observing what is happening in Universe 10. Meanwhile, in the future, Zamasu discusses Goku Black and Gine Black becoming immortal, but they turn it down. Back in the present, Future Trunks was moping around for losing once, so Trunks attacks him, since he believes he is a coward and is supposed to be a Saiyan. Anyway, Zamasu ends up killing Gawasu, so Whis reverses time, and they intervene, putting the glove on his hand. They then explain Zamasu's plan to Gawasu, and Beerus destroys Zamasu. Back on Earth, Future Trunks realizes what Trunks is trying to teach, then Beerus and the others return, explaining he destroyed Zamasu. When they head back to the future, Bulma goes along with him as well, so she can guide them back to the past. When they return, Trunks gives Mai a sensory beam, then they go to confront Zamasu, Goku Black, and Gine Black. Vegeta fights Goku Black while Raditz fights Gine Black, while Goku says he knows their identity. However, they reveal they're wrong and that they are all Zamasu. They just wish to switch bodies with Gine and Goku, then killed Gine and Goku. They also explain that because of the time ring, whatever happened to his past self wouldn't affect him. Anyway, Gine Black, Goku Black, and Zamasu all start blasting at the Saiyans, so they turn into their Super Saiyan Blue forms, or Super Saiyan 2 for future Trunks. After knocking the Saiyans away, they go on to explain how they killed Gawasu, wished for immortality, destroyed the Super Dragon Balls, and then killed every Supreme Kai of other universes. Gine Black and Zamasu then cornered Gine, explaining how they killed her family. This, of course, enrages her, surprising them with the power boost she received from this. This just makes Gine Black stronger, and they go on to taunt Trunks, since his changing history caused all of this to happen. During this, Goku Black was fighting Goku, with him eventually defeating Goku as well. Anyway, all of this enrages Trunks, as he tries to attack Gine Black while Zamasu and Goku Black hold back Vegeta and Raditz. Though he is defeated, he gets even angrier and powers up into his Super Saiyan Rage. To Gine Black's surprise, Trunks to put her on the defensive, though future Zamasu and Goku Black try to step in, but Vegeta and Raditz fight with him so they can't interfere. Though Zamasu, Goku Black, and Gine Black end up jumping Raditz and Vegeta, defeating them, which angers Trunks even more. While the Saiyans and Bulma retreat to the past, Trunks stays to hold off Gine Black, Goku Black, and Zamasu. They take Gine to be healed while Raditz and Vegeta leave to try and think of a plan. After Gine wakes up, they get the idea to use the evil containment wave, so Gine goes and learns it from Master Roshi while Goku learns it from Piccolo. As Beerus and Whis go back to Universe 10 to fill in Gawasu and everything, he decides to take responsibility and do something about it. Raditz and Vegeta were training in the hyperbolic time chamber, while Goku and Gine finished learning the evil containment wave. Meanwhile in the future, Mai tried to snipe Gine Black, but it doesn't work. Though they found where she was, so future Trunks comes in to save her. In their fight, Trunks seemingly defeats Gine and Goku Black, so he focuses his attention on Zamasu. As future Trunks tried to attack Zamasu with a blast, Gine Black and Goku Black stab him from behind. The Saiyans then return to the future, but the time machine is destroyed shortly after. However, Gawasu and Shin then show up. Anyway, Vegeta starts fighting with Goku Black, while Raditz fights with Gine Black, and Goku and Gine fight with Zamasu. Out of anger, Gine Black and Goku Black use blades made from energy, but they don't help much, though they end up slicing a rift open. Though, as the fights continue, Bulma suggests future Trunks be the one to use the evil containment wave. Back at the battlefield, clones of Gine Black and Goku Black come out of the rift, and start pummeling the Saiyan warriors. Future Trunks eventually confronts Zamasu, and after becoming a Super Saiyan Rage again, he tries to steal him away. Even though he's put into the urn, Goku forgot to get the paper amulet, so Zamasu escapes. Since they see their efforts have been in vain, Zamasu has Gine Black and Goku Black fuse into Ginkou Black. The combined attacks from Ginkou Black and future Zamasu basically leave the heroes helpless. Meanwhile, Bulma works on repairing the time machine, while Trunks takes the bag of sensory beams and heads to the battlefield. Back at the fight, Goku and Gine try teaming up on the fusion, while Raditz and Vegeta fight with Zamasu. However, they are beaten and knocked aside, which is when Trunks arrives. Trunks transforms to Super Saiyan Rage again, and he ends up in a beam struggle with the villains, but Vegeta joins it, making it a father-son Gallic gun, causing them to overpower the enemies. When they try to use a blast against Trunks, Vegeta takes the hit, falling unconscious. Goku then steps in and ends up in a beam struggle too, but he wins his as well. Even when Goku uses the Kaioken, he is defeated by the fusion, the Raditz and Gine are defeated as well. Since they had no other options, they resort to fusion and eat sensory beams first, with Gine and Goku becoming Ginkou, and Vegeta and Raditz becoming Vegets. They would then immediately go Super Saiyan Blue, which allows them to easily beat down the fusion and Zamasu. When they go to finish off the fusion, they would knock Zamasu down to get him out of the way. Then both fusions use a combined blast against Ginkou Black, which succeeds in killing her. Their fusion breaks right after this, so Zamasu starts to beat them down. However, Trunks shows up with his key sword and starts to attack Zamasu. He then gathers energy from everyone, forming the Sword of Hope. This easily defeats Zamasu, but they celebrate too soon, as he takes over the world as Infinite Zamasu, since he is immortal. They can't do anything about this, and after Goku finds out future Xeno would still be alive, he uses the button to summon him. As future Xeno destroys the world in Zamasu, the heroes and Trunks go to the present. Goku eventually goes back and rescues future Xeno, then takes him and introduces him to Xeno. Then, while at a celebratory dinner, Whis tells them they can go to a timeline where their world wasn't destroyed. So, after the dinner, Trunks and Mai go to this new timeline, as they say one last goodbye to everyone. This time, while Goku and Gine were training on Beerus' planet, Goku uses the button to go see Xeno and ask him about the tournament with the other universes. The Grand Minister tells him to let him know when the rules are decided, so he leaves and has Whis take them to the sacred world of the Kai. While there, the Grand Minister appears and tells them the rules of the Tournament of Power, and that each universe will need 10 fighters. The Grand Minister also says there will be this Xeno Expo to show future Xeno what a tournament is, and that they need to choose 3 fighters. Since Vegeta and Raditz are waiting for their children to be born, as both Tights and Bulma are pregnant, the 3 fighters would be Gine, Goku, and Gohan. So, they then go to Xeno's palace for the tournament, where the Grand Priest explains the rules of the Xeno Expo. The first match is between Gine and Basil, but Gine wins much easier than Boo did since she is stronger than Boo. The matches between Gohan and Lavender and Goku and Bergamo go the exact same, with Gohan's match ending in a draw while Goku wins his. Bergamo still did blame Goku for this, which got all the universes angry with him. Anyway, the Grand Minister explains the rules for the Tournament of Power, then Top jumps in the ring to challenge Goku to a fight. Their fight goes the same with the Grand Minister stopping it, so they don't kill each other. After Top tells Goku about Jiren, they return to Capsule Corp and start to plan their team. I'm not going to go into detail about the recruiting episodes, but the team ends up being Gine, Goku, Vegeta, Raditz, Gohan, Piccolo, Android 17, Android 18, Krillin, and Master Roshi. Raditz had another daughter named Hiki from the undergarments called Hikini. Anyway, Raditz is the replacement for Tien, which I chose Master Roshi over Tien because I think they would find that his experience and skills would be more useful than Tien's. Anyway, they're teleported to the World of Void and meet the other universes, mainly conversing with Universe 6. I think Gine would be more interested in seeing the other female Saiyans from Universe 6, so she tried talking with them. The stage is then fixed, and the Grand Priest goes over the rules, while Gohan goes over the strategy, and the Tournament of Power begins. Everyone, of course, starts fighting, with Rillaboom being the first eliminated fighter, with Basil knocking her out of the ring. Raditz, being cautious, would mainly stick with the plan of staying with the group. Nink tries to grab Gine and take her off the ring, but Gine gets out of it and Nink is eliminated. Since Gine is the strongest, the Universe 9 fighters surround her, while Goku fights Nappa. Though Roselle then tries to attack Goku from behind, so instead of toying with him like Frieza did, he eliminates Roselle right away. Though the Saiyans all jump in when Gine is ganged up on, and when Hop accidentally attacks Lavender, Gine takes a chance to turn Super Saiyan and knock Conqueror and Chapel off the stage. Vegeta eliminates Hop, Android 18 eliminates Sorel, and Raditz eliminates Hisopp and Oregano. The 4 Saiyans then use a combined blast to knock Basil, Lavender, and Bergamo out of the ring, which the Grand Minister announces that Universe 9 is out of fighters in the tournament, so Xeno erases them. This stunned everyone, but they eventually start the fight again. While Vegeta fights with Wada Vegeta, Krillin and Master Roshi knock Diem out of the ring. Android 18 fights with Shosa, but Krillin saves her from being eliminated, which they then eliminate Shosa. Majora then fights with the couple, but once they notice his strong sense of smell, Krillin makes use of his shoe to eliminate him. However, Frost then sneak attacks Krillin and eliminates him, before using a smokescreen to disappear. Kaba then eventually finds Vegeta, knocking Murray-san and Negrisi off the arena in the process. Hit then eliminates Narayama while Kale and Khalifa fight Methiop and Nappa. Khalifa then eliminates Nappa before going to challenge Gine to a fight, who is in the process of fighting Jimizu. Once Khalifa asks about Super Saiyan Blue and Gine says she isn't ready for that form, she offers to wish them back if she wins and train them after the tournament. Though Khalifa then goes to her Super Saiyan 3rd grade form, which Gine suggests trying for Super Saiyan 2 instead. Kale still transforms into her Berserk form when Khalifa disregards her to fight Gine. In this fit of rage, Kale eliminates Methiop of Valan, before Jiren knocks Kale away, though, shortly after, Gine confronts Jiren. However, Jiren and Top leave, which leaves Gine, Khalifa, and Kale to face the Pride Troopers. In the meantime, Master Roshi eliminates our pre-show with the help of Raditz. Also, Goku ends up defeating and eliminating Murray-chan, which angers Vegeta because he was going to fight him. Back with Gine and the others, Android 17 and 18 come to their aid. Tupper eventually grabs Gine, but Android 18 saves her and eliminates Tupper. Though Gine, 17, and 18 are sealed, leaving only Khalifa and Kale to fight the Pride Troopers. Kale and Khalifa then use the gigantic blast to eliminate Zore, Kosorel, and Kettle. Kokot then seals herself and 18 eliminates her by throwing her out of the ring, while Gine lets Kale and Khalifa retreat. As 17 and 18 leave, Brianne de Chateau, Sankaku, and Suro start to transform. The 17 interrupts them until Toph and Goku says to let them transform, so they do it again and finish the transformation this time. After Gohan, Piccolo, Raditz, and Master Roshi decide to split up, Piccolo goes to face Girasan. However, Brianne eliminates Girasan while she was fighting Vegeta. Then while Gine fights with Rosie, 17 fights with Kakunsa. Though Bikal saves Kakunsa from being eliminated, so 17 eliminates Bikal. He then goes on to fight Kakunsa and eliminates her, then he fights Brianne. Gine continues fighting with Rosie while 17 fights Rebrian, though Jimizu comes in and saves them. During all this, Champa orders Batalmo to attack Gohan, which he complies, but he's eliminated after Gohan's blows lift him off the ground, since he couldn't retaliate after that. Omni and Rubalt then challenge Gohan and Piccolo while Jimizu defeats Zerkor. Piccolo was being overwhelmed but used the Hellzone grenade to eliminate Rubalt. Gohan was being overwhelmed too until he powers up to his ultimate form and starts hitting back right after being hit. He then defeats Omni with a Kamehameha but finds Omni's locket, which is when Universe 10 is erased. Dispo challenges Hit to a fight, and this succeeds, as he can overwhelm Hit with his speed. As the fight goes on, Hit starts to adapt to Dispo's speed, so Toph has Kensai join the fight. Gine would then jump in, while in her Super Saiyan God form, to help in the fight. She would also start going in and out of her blue form to attack and defend. Eventually, Hit time skips and eliminates Kensai, which Dispo vows revenge and retreats. While Master Roshi was walking around the arena, Kawaii ends up attacking him, but he ends up resisting his urges and scares her out of the arena. Zerkor then confronts Roshi, and even though she used her illusions, he was able to steal her with the evil containment wave and toss her out of the ring. Roshi then gets into a fight with Ganos, with him winning the fight at first, though he eventually transforms, which turns the fight around. So Roshi powers up to his max power and uses his most powerful Kamehameha, which eliminates Ganos. He died from this since he used his life force, but Goku was able to revive him. Piccolo and Gohan then start being attacked by a mysterious fighter, so they decide to try and find him. Though they'd be cautious about following his trail since they realize the fighter is a sniper, however Piccolo ends up taking a blast for Gohan. They eventually find Hermira and Prum, with Raditz fighting Hermira, though, unlike Tien, he can take him out without having to eliminate himself in the process. Shortly after this, Dr. Rhoda tries to reveal his ability again, but Vegeta gets annoyed and eliminates Prum and Dr. Rhoda with a Gallic gun. Majikaio eventually tries to fight Jiren, but Dispo fights him instead, though he is eventually ensnared. So, Jiren quickly ends the fight by knocking Majikaio off the stage with just the power from his fist. Frost then tries to attack Master Roshi, though when Roshi tries the evil containment wave, it fails. Though Frost drags Raditz and Vegeta into the fight, so Vegeta joins as well. Since it isn't a 2-on-1, Roshi doesn't intervene with the evil containment wave, so Vegeta isn't sealed away. Once the two go Super Saiyan Blue, Raditz eliminates Frost and Vegeta eliminates Vegeta, though Vegeta still convinces Master Roshi to eliminate himself so he can get healed. After this, Gine battles with Rebrand while Kappa is battling with Toph. Meanwhile, Gohan is attacked by Jimizu and is being beaten, so Raditz intervenes and helps eliminate Jimizu. Then in the fight between Gine and Rebriand, she transforms into her Super Rebriand form, though after Belwa tells Jiren to defeat Gine, he approaches her, interrupting her fight with Rebriand. In this fight, Gine would go through her forms, though Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, and Super Saiyan 3 isn't able to do anything to him, so she eventually goes Super Saiyan God then Super Saiyan Blue. However, she doesn't have the Kaioken, so she reveals she worked on surpassing Blue in her own way, and shows off the perfected Super Saiyan Blue form we see in the manga. So, she drops to her base form and tries to use the Spirit Bomb, which she would have learned from King Kai when she was dead. Though, even when she uses her perfected Super Saiyan Blue form, Jiren still pushes the Spirit Bomb back at her. Their struggle basically turns the Spirit Bomb into a black hole, and she falls into it, and once the smoke clears, she is nowhere to be seen. She's assumed dead, but Gine eventually emerges from the debris, now in the Ultra Instinct Sign form. As they start to fight again, everyone was confused by what this was, so Whis explains it's Ultra Instinct. Though after fighting for a while, his form runs out, so she's swatted away. Which Hit then tries to attack Jiren because he thought he'd be vulnerable, but it didn't work. Now that Gine is out of power, Goku gets away with her and gives her some of his energy. While Hit fights with Jiren, Saonel and Pilana approach Gine, but Gohan and Piccolo stop them. During this time, Vegeta and Raditz were fighting Rebriand and Rosie, but they end up escaping when smoke is kicked up. Hit ends up trapping Jiren in the Time Prison and tells the rest of the Universe 6 fighters to eliminate everyone else. Though Jiren ends up escaping and eliminates Hit, then goes back to meditating. Koitsuke, Ponchiat, and Boaretta then team up on Gine while she is still recovering. Though, Gohan and Piccolo continue to fight with Saonel and Pilana. Then Mana tries to attack Kale and Caulifla, but Kappa intervenes so the two girls can recover more. Even as the Super Saiyan, Kappa is almost defeated, but Vegeta saves him. Vegeta then promises to revive Kappa when he wins, so Kappa goes on to fight Mana again. He goes Super Saiyan 2 and knocks her out of the ring, though, while Vegeta, Raditz, and Goku get in a fight with Toph and Dispo, Kappa isn't eliminated since Frieza isn't there. Eventually, however, Gine is saved from the robots by Caulifla, who then challenges Gine to a fight. Caulifla immediately goes Super Saiyan 2 and asks Gine to teach her how to go Super Saiyan 3, so she agrees. Though Gine must start slow, so she goes Super Saiyan to start, but eventually goes Super Saiyan 2. Kale then eventually joins in as they fight, as she and Caulifla team up on Gine. Though, Kale eventually slips into her Berserk form, which distracts the others from fighting Toph and Dispo. However, Caulifla ends up talking to Kale and getting through to her, causing her to go into her Super Saiyan 2 form. Around now, Gine recovered enough to go Super Saiyan 3, and tries to teach this form to Kale and Caulifla as she promised. It's hard to say if the two girls could achieve it, but I believe they would be able to achieve it. But once they do, Gine would have to go to her Super Saiyan God form, which ends up pushing them to fusion to Kefla, with the fusion easily overpowering Gine. Vegeta and Raditz continue fighting with Toph and Dispo while Gohan and Piccolo keep fighting Salanel and Pilana. Android 18 is then confronted by Kato Pestra, but Android 17 ends up saving her. Anyway, Gine eventually goes Super Saiyan Blue, so Kefla goes Super Saiyan. Though, to deflect Kefla's blast, she must use her perfected Super Saiyan Blue form. However, all Kefla's overwhelming attacks end up pushing Gine into the Ultra Instinct Sign form again. Now that Gine is in this form, Kefla powers up to her Super Saiyan 2 form. Everyone stops fighting to watch this, as Gine and Kefla fight for a while, though she realizes her stamina won't hold out for long, so she charges her Maiden's Blast while Kefla charges a gigantic burst. However, this is where Kefla would go Super Saiyan 3, so when they end up in a beam struggle, it's much more intense. So, I think the increased strength of Super Saiyan 3 and this beam struggle would basically cause us to end in a draw, with them all passing out from the strain, with none of the three Saiyans falling out of the ring yet. After this fight though, Vegeta and Raditz vow that they'll master Ultra Instinct before Gine can. After this, Kato Pestra attacks Vegeta and Raditz, using his Raging Battle mode, which they try to unlock Ultra Instinct, but it doesn't work, so they send Kato Pestra flying. Rosie and Ribrianne then try to fight Gine, but 17 and 18 intervene, though Gine is surrounded by the other Universe 2 fighters. 17 and 18 then manage to eliminate Rosie, so Ribrianne transforms into her lovely love Ribrianne form, though, with 17's help, 18 manages to take out Ribrianne, eliminating her. To give more time for Gine to recover, Goku would take on Zerloin, Sarbuto, and Robonra, though they end up transforming in a similar way that Ribrianne, Kunsa, and Rosie did. 17 and 18 join the fight with Goku, while Gohan and Piccolo continue to fight Salanel and Pilana. Gohan resorts to his ultimate form, and as the fight drags on, the Universe 2 fighters make the pretty black hole. Goku and Gohan end up using a Kamehameha, which takes out their respective enemies. Since Universe 2 is now out of the fighters, they are erased. Meanwhile, Vegeta and Raditz keep fighting Kato Pestra, who resorts to using his ultimate mode before being knocked out of the ring by Gamisalis. Though, after Piccolo and Gohan team up to cover Gamisalis in dust, Piccolo easily knocks him out of the ring. Cortella then orders Shanka to get started, so he makes his illusions, but Piccolo eventually finds him and knocks him out of the ring. However, the mom knocks Piccolo out of the ring, but Android 17 finds out his secret, so, by working together with Goku, they knock the mom out of the ring. Though, since this was Universe 4's last fighter, they are erased. Moscow would then tell the remaining Universe 3 fighters to get serious, so when Koitsuke, Panchia, and Boro attack the Saiyans, Gohan intervenes so they can conserve their stamina. Gine and the Universe 6 Saiyans would be well recovered now, but they would probably briefly team up against Universes 3 and 11, as they are more dangerous. 17 and 18 would be fighting Biara during this, with them slowly wearing him down, before 18 knocks him out of the arena. Moscow then orders Plan X, so Koitsuke, Panchia, and Bororetta merge into Quisiaretta. The Universe 6 and 7 Saiyans then jump in, with them assuming either Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan Blue to fight this robot. After Gohan seemingly defeats him with a Kamehameha, they then merge with Paparoni, making Ani Laza. All of Universe 7 and 6 takes on Ani Laza, though 17 is almost knocked out of the arena. However, 18 saves him with her being the one to fall off the arena instead. 17 ends up destroying Ani Laza's energy core, which allows everyone else to knock him out of the ring with their combined blast, which this causes Universe 3 to be erased, leaving only Universes 6, 7, and 11 left. So, Universes 6 and 7 would team up on Universe 11, with Gine and Vegeta fighting with Jiren, while Gohan and 17 fight Toph, and Raditz and Goku face off against Dispo. Then the Universe 6 Saiyans would help with fighting Toph, since 17 and Gohan were struggling. Vegeta ends up using a Final Flash against Jiren, but it has no effect, so he knocks Vegeta down. Gine then starts fighting Jiren again, while Goku and Raditz keep fighting Dispo. Meanwhile, 17, Gohan, and the Universe 6 Saiyans almost push Toph out of the ring. However, Gine uses her perfected blue form against Jiren, while Vegeta achieves the Super Saiyan Blue evolution form. While against Dispo, Goku uses the blue Kaioken and Raditz unlocks his own form of blue, I'm not sure if this is possible, but since Super Saiyan Rose 2 is seen to be possible in Super Dragon Ball Heroes, I'm going to say Raditz achieves Super Saiyan Blue 2. Dispo is pushed to using his Super Maximum Light Speed mode, so they must resort to Gohan grabbing Dispo from behind while he was distracted by Goku and Raditz, so that they could blast him out of the ring, eliminating both Dispo and Gohan. While Gine and Vegeta keep fighting Jiren, 17 continues to fight with Toph. However, instead of it being Frieza that blasts Toph from behind, it's Kale and Caulifla, finishing it off with a gigantic blast, causing 17's blast to envelop him. Toph then renounces justice as he powers up to his God of Destruction form. He then starts to fight Goku, knocking him to the edge of the arena, but he eventually gets back up. The two different fights end up getting close to each other, so it switches to Gine and Goku fighting Jiren while Raditz and Vegeta fight Toph. Vegeta and Raditz then use the final explosion together against Toph like they did to Boo years ago. This uses up all their power, but does eliminate Toph in the process. Jiren now gets serious and fights 17, Vegeta, Raditz, Gine, and the Universe 6 Saiyans at the same time, but Goku interrupts and fights Jiren in his blue Kaioken form, though he is knocked away and passes out. Eventually Belmont asks 17 what he'd do with the wish, which is when 17 reveals what he wants, and Jiren reveals his wish / his past too. Regardless, Jiren tries to blast all of them, so 17, Kale, and Caulifla try to hold off the blast while they shield Gine, Raditz, Vegeta, and Kaba. Since Kale, Caulifla, and 17 are thought to have self-destructed, Jiren isn't penalized. Anyway, Vegeta, Raditz, and Kaba then try fighting with Jiren, but this fight basically goes the exact same, with them not being able to do anything to Jiren. Even their last resort of the combined blast does nothing, so they all fall out of the ring. Kaba, Raditz, and Vegeta give their energy to Gine. Gine gets back up to fight, but even as a Super Saiyan Blue, she's being beaten. However, she ends up going into the Ultra Instinct Sign form one more time. Their fight drags on as the arena is crumbled more beneath her feet, but her power continues to grow too, with her unlocking perfected Ultra Instinct. This battle goes essentially the same as Goku and Jiren's fight, with Jiren unlocking his hidden power. Then when she goes to finish Jiren off, her body collapses, so he sends her flying, only for Goku to save her from being eliminated. This also revealed 17, Kale, and Caulifla survived, while Gine lands on a piece of rubble and reverts to her base form. So, they all challenge Jiren in their strongest form, but Kale and Caulifla can't hold Super Saiyan 3 for long, and Goku can't hold Super Saiyan Blue for long either. Gine eventually gets back up, and with both her and Goku going in and out of Super Saiyan, they take out Jiren together. So, this is when the time will run out, which with Android 17, Kale, and Caulifla being left in the ring, that means Universe 6 is the winner. So, Universe 11 is erased after Gine mentions wanting to face Jiren again. However, Universe 7 is erased as well, with Champa being the upset one when his brother is erased this time around. Anyway, since Gine promised to teach Caulifla and Kale how to access Super Saiyan Blue, it would wish all the erased universes back to life, so that they would have the chance to learn this. Whis then helps return everyone back to Earth, where everyone has a celebration that they survived, even if they weren't the ones to directly win the Tournament of Power. After the tournament has ended, Goku, Vegeta, Gine, and Raditz are all sparring near Bulma's summer home, but Whis and Beerus are also there, but they were mainly there just for the food. However, Whis asks all of them why they continue training to get stronger, with them basically saying so they could better protect their universe. After all, they lost in the Tournament of Power. Bulma still receives a call from Trunks, with him saying that the Dragon Ball she collected was stolen along with the Dragon Radar. Once they see the surveillance film, they realize it was people wearing armor like what people in the Frieza Force wears. Though, with Frieza not being alive, they figure that they are trying to revive Frieza again. Frieza Force doesn't know that the dragon can only revive someone once, so without knowing where New Namek is, it's their best chance. Anyway, the heroes head off towards the Ice Continent to get the last Dragon Ball, leaving Beerus behind with Bola and Hiki. On the way there, they ask Bulma why she had the Dragon Balls, which she says she was going to wish to be 5 years younger. Meanwhile, on Frieza's ship, Kikino passes on the message that they got 6 of the Dragon Balls and the Dragon Radar to Berry Blue. Meanwhile, out in space, Lemo and Chilai were still tasked with finding strong people so that the force is strengthened by the time Frieza is revived. While discussing why they joined and if they ever seen Frieza, they pass by Vampa and notice a distress signal from an older ship. Once they land, Paragus runs up to them asking if they're with the Frieza Force. After realizing he's a Saiyan, they discuss his power being high, but they are attacked by a Vampa beetle, so Paragus calls for Broly. Their scouter goes blank when trying to read Broly's power, so they take him and Paragus back to Berry Blue. Once there, they talk with Berry Blue about Broly having lost control before, so Paragus explains the remote in the collar, which Chilai and Lemo notice how Broly seems scared when the remote is pulled out. Berry Blue then pays Chilai and Lemo in credits for finding Broly. Paragus is then informed about Planet Vegeta being destroyed, which saddens him because he wanted his revenge, so he is told Prince Vegeta is still alive. So, they will help each other mutually. They'll go and defeat the Saiyans so they can revive Frieza. So, they are then sent to the showers and are given new armor. After they get their armor, Broly and Paragus are invited to sit with Gine and Lemo. Gine still explains about the armor being stretchy, since Broly figured it wouldn't be able to fit him. Though she tries to take the pelt off him, which angers Broly. She apologizes. When Broly tries to tell the story of why it means a lot to him, Paragus tells him they're there to eat, not chat. When Gine tries to push the matter, Lemo advises her to drop it. Daigen then approaches and tries to put the moves on Gine, but she blows him off. He keeps trying though, so Lemo tries to get him to go away by offering to pay for his meal. Though he punches Lemo away, which starts to anger Broly, so he approaches Daigen. He was ignoring Paragus' orders to stand down, so Daigen attacks him, which does nothing. Before he can kill Daigen though, Paragus uses the collar to make Broly stand down. Gine then confronts Paragus about this and steals the remote without him noticing, and he tells her to stay away from Broly. Afterwards, Berry Blue arrives and summons Paragus, leaving Broly behind with Gine and Lemo. So, Gine shows the remote that she stole, which amazes the two, and she crushes it beneath her foot. Once they go to the living quarters, Broly goes on to explain to them the story of Ba and how he got the pelt, which is Ba's ear. They try to see if he even liked fighting, but he refused to speak bad about his father. Meanwhile, on the Arctic continent, the Frieza Force has found the last Dragon Ball. So, while Berry Blue and Paragus discuss the plans for Broly to fight the Saiyans on Earth, Kikino comes in and informs Berry Blue of this, so they head to Earth at full speed. As the heroes arrive in the Arctic, they run into Frieza's goons, which Vegeta shoots them down. Though as they try to get the Dragon Balls, they notice Frieza's ship arriving, with him sensing a strong fighter on board. Then, as they land and disembark the ship, Vegeta recognizes both Paragus and Broly as being Saiyans. However, Paragus starts to shake in anger when he sees Vegeta, since he resembles his father. Frieza's goons then rush the Dragon Balls over to Berry Blue, which as Gine and Lemo were watching this go down, they were curious about what the balls were. When Gine demands to know what they want, Berry Blue introduces Paragus and Broly, and that Broly was exiled by King Vegeta. So, Paragus goes on to explain he wanted revenge against Vegeta for what his father did. Broly's anger is starting to rise at this point, so after getting Berry Blue's attention, she allows Broly to begin. So, Paragus tells Broly to attack, and he goes right for Vegeta first. So, this fight goes as per normal, with Vegeta having to take off his coat as they fight. Vegeta then transforms to a Super Saiyan, shocking Paragus, as he reveals Broly can't do this. Vegeta was winning at first, but Broly kept getting stronger, so Vegeta had to resort to turning into his Super Saiyan God form. After Vegeta knocks Broly away, Berry Blue suggested retreating, so Paragus tries to get Broly to stand down, but he is ignored. Vegeta then tries to finish Broly off with a God Heat Flash, which pushes Broly into his wrath state. Broly starts to beat down Vegeta in this state, so Raditz takes off his jacket and says it's his turn. This fight goes essentially the same, with Raditz in his base form not being able to do anything to Broly. So, when he transforms into a Super Saiyan, he is still outmatched, but manages to get some hits in. As a Super Saiyan God, he is holding his own. But of course, Broly's anger starts to bubble up. Eventually he turns to a Super Saiyan Blue, which is when he starts to overpower Broly, but Broly still gets stronger as time goes on. However, Goku takes over next, as he wanted to fight Broly. He would start off with taking off his jacket and using a Kamehameha, to no avail. So, again, he goes slowly and uses Super Saiyan first, but it does absolutely nothing against the Raging Saiyan. Even as a Super Saiyan God, he would be struggling now since Broly's power has been rising, which, when he goes Super Saiyan Blue, Broly is holding his own a little better than what he did against Raditz, but not enough to matter, since without Super Saiyan, it will take a little bit for Broly's power to reach the level of Super Saiyan Blue. Lastly, Gine steps in to fight Broly, again with her base form doing nothing. Her Super Saiyan form is basically useless as well, and so is her Super Saiyan God form. She would go straight to her perfected Super Saiyan Blue form and attempt to use the God Bind like what Goku did in the movie. Since she is in a stronger form than what Goku was when using this, she can hold Broly still easier. Anyway, she tries to talk some sense into him, saying that they were able to live peacefully on Earth. Gine then tells him she knows he isn't a bad guy, and that he shouldn't let bad people control him. This starts to get through to him, so she starts to explain how she doesn't like to fight either, which, with Gine's peaceful nature and Broly seeing her as more compassionate than Goku, I don't know if this would work for sure, but since Super Saiyan Blue is seen as a calming form, the key from it holding him could help calm Broly too. So, this gets through to him and he drops to his base form. Gine releases the God Bind and yells to Berry Blue that they should leave Broly here now along with the Dragon Balls. Paragus would try to call out to Broly to get him to come with them since they're leaving, but he refuses, believing they should stay. Since Paragus doesn't have the remote, he can't control Broly. Gine and the others would then go in pursuit after the Frieza Force, with Broly following them. However, none of them could stand up to Broly, so Berry Blue would have the Frieza Force retreat in the ship, leaving Broly and Paragus behind on Earth. The Saiyans would then talk to Paragus, explaining that Frieza was the one who destroyed Planet Vegeta. Paragus didn't know this part, as he got up in his quest for vengeance, so he just believed whatever Berry Blue told him. Vegeta would then explain he had no idea who he was and had nothing to do with his father's choice, which is true, as he was a baby at the time. Paragus would drop to the ground, as he would need time to reconsider his life. A small ship then arrives, which is Chilai and Lemo, of course, which Broly runs over to them. Paragus is still wary of the two, but he would know he can't control Broly anymore. Anyway, Gine offers that they can stay here on Earth. They should be able to get a house or houses built for them with the help of Bulma and Capsule Corp. So, they would all agree, but Gine asks for Broly to train with him in exchange. Broly would agree to this condition, so they all take off with Gine. As of right now, we don't know if Dragon Ball Super will overwrite the end of Z or not, so, as of the time of writing this, I planned for the end of Z and GT to follow Dragon Ball Super in the timeline. However, I'm not going to mention the God forms directly in this part, since Dragon Ball Super isn't finished yet. So, until Dragon Ball Super is finished, I won't start doing the parts about Dragon Ball GT. Anyway, sorry for the interruption with this brief note, so on with this part. It's been 10 years since the defeat of Majin Buu, and the Earth has relatively been in a time of peace, except for a little bit of conflict now and again, but it is now age 784. However, since Saiyans start to age rapidly once they reach the age of 80, it would be important to try and figure out how old Gine is. We don't have any statements for her age, so I basically must make a random guess for when she was born. I'll say she was 29 when Planet Vegeta was destroyed at age 737, meaning she was born at age 708. So, by the time at age 784, she would be 76, but she was dead for 7 years and in a hyperbolic time chamber for at least 5 years. So, at age 784, she is at least 74 if going by the Super timeline up until the fight with Broly. Anyway, after these 10 years pass, Trunks, Cammy, and Kenny go to see Gohan, asking where Goten is. So, Gohan informs them that Goten is out training with Goku, and that Vegeta, Bulma, Raditz, Tights, and Broly are there as well. In these past 10 years, while Piccolo would have been helping babysit Pan after she was born 5 years ago, I think Gine would have been helping babysit and train Pan. So, while Pan is still close to Goku like she is in GT, she gets really close to her great-grandmother, Gine. However, there are also times Gine would have been going to Universe 6 to train Caulifla and Kale like she promised to. At this time of Goku and Goten training, she would be training with Pan as well, which, where they are training, when Bulma arrives she chastises Goku for not having come and seen them in forever, since he last dropped in to see them years ago. Regardless, Vegeta mainly arrived to ask Goku if it was true if he was going to the 28th World Martial Arts Tournament tomorrow, and Goku does indeed reveal this is true. When Vegeta asks him why, he says it's because there's going to be a great fighter that will be at the tournament, and that he's been waiting for them to show up. At this point, Trunks, Cammy, and Kenny show up, asking if Goten is joining the tournament, and he says Goku is having him join. Next, Bola, Raditz's daughter Hiki, and Krillin's daughter Marin would show up too. Since Pan was being trained, Vegeta and Raditz decided to train their daughters. Then, since Marin was close friends with Pan, Hiki, and Bola, she was convinced to start training as well. When Vegeta and Raditz find out that Pan and the kids were joining, they have Trunks, Cammy, and Kemi join too, or else they'll cut their allowance. I was having a hard time deciding if Broly would be in the tournament or not, though Goku would want him to join so he could fight him, but then Gine would also be understanding of Broly's side of him not liking to fight. So, since I couldn't decide, I flipped the coin to decide, and it came up with that Broly doesn't join the tournament, he just goes to watch it. Meanwhile, Hercule was talking with Boo and discussing the plan for the tournament, saying it will be the same as usual. Boo will be the winning challenger, and lose to Hercule, but Boo will go easy on the others so they will want to compete in other years. Gine and everyone then shows up to visit Hercule, where Pan tells them they're all competing. Though Gine lets him know if any of them make it to the finals, they'll let him win. They still ask Hercule if he can get the other seats since the stands are full, and he agrees, giving them seats set up right by the ring. Also, since Beerus and Whis would still come visit Earth, they would come spectate this tournament as well, but they mainly came for the food. As the fighters arrive at the ring so the announcer can draw lots for the matches, Goku has Boo use his magic to cheat the fights. So, the matches end up like this. The first match is Pan vs Wild Tiger, the second is Gine vs Nock, the third is Goku vs Oob, the fourth is Boo vs Goten, the fifth is Bola vs Marin, the sixth is Trunks vs Vegeta, the seventh is Cammy vs Kemi, and the eighth is Raditz vs Hiki. After these fights are set up, Vegeta has Goku explain why he is going against some kid. So, Goku explains that this kid is the reincarnation of Boo, that King Yama listened to Goku's wish for Buu to come back as someone good someday after he managed to defeat Buu with the Spirit Bomb. Pan's match with Wild Tiger goes the same, with her knocking Wild Tiger out of the ring with only 2 hits. In the second match, Gine would easily hit knocked out of the ring in 1 hit. Afterwards, Goku introduces himself to Oob since they're up next in the third match, then they're called to the ring. In the fight with Goku and Oob, Goku would start mocking him and his family to make Oob mad, which, once he is, their fight would start to get serious with them going blow for blow. After Goku shows off flying, Oob reveals he can't do this, so Goku comes down and apologizes for the insults and explains he just wanted to see his full power. Anyway, Goku still promises to give him the prize money from Hercule if he agrees to come train with him. However, Goku doesn't leave with Oob right that moment. He stays at the tournament to finish it off, so he could fight with the others, as he was excited to see how strong they have gotten. So, he would knock Oob out of the ring and tell him to watch the fights from the stands. He'll come get him after the tournament. In the next fight between Buu and Goten, I don't believe Goten would stand much of a chance here. After all, when Goten's match was announced in the manga, he said it was no fair that he was being put up against Buu in the first round, which, even though Goten has been training with Goku, he wouldn't be able to do much against Buu in just his base form, which the fighters probably wouldn't use Super Saiyan in this tournament, mainly because of the same reason they didn't back in the 25th World Martial Arts Tournament, which was to not remind people of the Cell games. So, especially without Super Saiyan, Goten doesn't stand a chance and is defeated by Buu. Next would be the fight between Bola and Naren, which even without Super Saiyan being allowed, I don't think Pan, Bola, or Hiki would have had Super Saiyan unlocked yet, so it could be an extremely close fight between Bola and Naren. However, I think Bola would win this fight, as I believe her being trained by Krillin would make her stronger than Naren, who would have been trained by Krillin in 18, though she still would be extremely strong, so this fight is basically a toss-up between the two. Next is a fight between Trunks and Vegeta, which the result of this fight is obvious. It would basically be a one-sided fight with Vegeta being the winner. However, he would probably start slow so that he could be able to test out Trunks' power. However, when Trunks gets to his full power, Vegeta still wouldn't be at his, he would just power up to be slightly stronger than Trunks. So, without the use of Super Saiyan, this is basically as far as Trunks would be able to go in the fight, which Vegeta would knock Trunks out of the ring, thus winning the match. After this match is the match between Kami and Kemi, which this match can really go either way. The twins are equally matched in power, so I can see this fight ending up in the way that the one between Goku and Jackie Chun did, meaning that whoever is the first one to stand up and declare themselves the winner would be the one to go on to the next round. Since in the 25th World Martial Arts Tournament I said Kami won that match, I'll take Kami as the one to win this match, though I also did a coin flip, and it chose Kemi as well, so either way she would have ended up being the winner regardless if I chose, or if I left it up to the coin flip to decide. The last match of the first round is between Raditz and his younger daughter, Hiki, which this would be a very similar fight to Trunks' and Vegeta's fight, though Raditz wouldn't have to use nearly as much power as he did against Trunks. Anyway, it would start slow, with him testing Hiki's power just to see how strong she's gotten from her training. Eventually, however, after a while of fighting, he would power up so that he was a little stronger than her, which he would gently knock her out of the ring so he doesn't hurt his daughter after all. Raditz would still plan to continue her training after the tournament is over, though. The matches of the second round are as follows. The first is Pan vs Gine, the second is Goku vs Buu, the third is Bola vs Vegeta, and the fourth is Kemi vs Raditz. The first match of the second round is between Pan and Gine, which Gine would be excited to be able to test the power of her student and her great-granddaughter. Of course, she would have to start off slow though, as Pan wouldn't be able to match her in strength. I do think this fight would end in a similar way to Goku and Oob's fight, with her promising to train Pan more after the tournament, though she wouldn't plan to just take off with Pan like Goku did with Oob in the actual story, as Pan still must go through school since she is only 4 at this time. The next match is between Goku and Buu, which would be a close match. In the manga when Goku talked to Hercule, Goku himself said that Buu could end up being the finalist, so even though Goku got stronger since the Buu saga, he still believed that Buu could potentially beat him. This makes sense though, especially since they put the limitation of no using Super Saiyan on themselves. However, Goku might use the Kaioken since he didn't make a self-imposed rule about that technique. So, while it is a close fight, I believe he would be able to just barely win out against Buu. Next is the fight against Vegeta and Bola, which would end up much like his fight against Trunks or like Raditz's fight against Hiki. He starts out slow to test his daughter's power, since he has been training her directly. He would be curious to see how far she has come, especially in comparison to Goku's granddaughter and Raditz's daughter. After Bola uses her full power, Vegeta would start to use more of his power too. He would be proud of how far Bola has come under his training, but he would still win by gently knocking her out of the ring, with him vowing to train her more later. Then the final match of the second round is between Kemi and Raditz, which Kame would be able to put up far more of a fight than Hiki would, so Raditz would have to resort to using more of his power than he did earlier. This still ends up like the earlier fights between him and Hiki are like the ones between Vegeta and his children, with him starting off slow until he eventually powers up enough that he can beat them. However, like he did with Hiki, he would knock her out of the ring gently too, since, of course, he still wouldn't like to accidentally hurt his daughters. The matches of the third round are as follows. The first match is Gine vs Goku, and the second is Vegeta vs Raditz. Both fights would be long and drawn out ones, but with the Goku and Gine fight, it would go slightly faster than the second match. Gine would be slightly ahead of Goku, like how Goku is basically always one step ahead of Vegeta. So, when the two resort to using their full power in their base forms, Gine would gain the upper hand in their fight. Though, I don't know if Goku would be using the Kaioken in this fight, since there's not really any time to heal between the fights. He wouldn't have time to rest, and I don't know if he'd be well enough to use the Kaioken again. Anyway, because of this, after a while she would knock Goku out of the ring. Though, she would be proud to see how far her son has come since the day she and Bardock sent him away from Planet Vegeta. Next is the fight between Vegeta and Raditz, which is another extremely drawn out fight, as these two were evenly matched. However, I think one of these two rivals has a trait that would be able to help them get the win. Raditz is much more of a cautious and calculating fighter, so after a while of going head to head with Vegeta, he theoretically would be able to find an opening or come up with a plan to knock Vegeta out of the ring. Of course, losing to Raditz would temporarily anger the prince, but he'd just vow to train even harder to surpass Raditz and Kakarot, the vow to surpass him in Gine. So, this leaves the only match of the fourth round being between Gine and Raditz. This would go very similar to her fight with Gine and Goku, but since Goku is stronger than Raditz in this timeline, the gap between him and Gine is even wider. She'd still start off slow though, so she could test her other son's power. In the end, however, she still knocks him out of the ring, making her the winner of the match. She would be proud of both of her sons and how far they have come since Planet Vegeta was destroyed. She'd only wish Bardock could have seen how much their sons have grown. The final match of the tournament is between Gine and Hercule, which, as promised, Gine lets Hercule win, as she lets him punch her and she face going flying and landing out of the ring. After the tournament is over, Goku does keep up on his promise of getting Hercule to give the prize money to Oob. He then takes off with Oob, making him promise to fight with him after his training is over. However, since he would still want to keep up on training his children, he wouldn't go off to the lookout to train. Gine would also want Pan to promise to fight with her after her training ends, so she can see how far her great-granddaughter has come under her training. Until Dragon Ball Super is finished, so that I can do GT without having to change it later because of something added in Super, this will be the end of this timeline. So, this is the end of their adventures for now, as everyone returns home, with Gine going up to Mount Palzu along with Pan, so she can go back to training with her again.